GBU live stream back Friday night, 7 o'clock. Every 7 o'clock, we're coming to you on YouTube now, and we'll be putting them on TikTok in the future and Twitter and Instagram if we can get the capabilities to do that as well. Big plate today, and as always, I'm here with JD and Reese. How you guys feeling 1 week after the Super Bowl in the purgatory of the sports season?
I'm already missing football, but I'm really excited for next off season and see what we got for all these teams.
Yeah, this is going to be rough the next few weeks trying to hold out until the baseball lockout for us, but I'm really excited for free agency. I think there's a lot of stuff we can do for that, for the draft too. I think the draft's going to be a fun time for us. We just got to hold out till baseball. They're going to be meeting every day now, starting Monday, hopefully. I doubt the season starts on time, but I'm optimistic. Hopefully something can happen. One side's got to cave in.
Yeah, and if you check out our Instagram, we're bringing NFL and MLB content frequently throughout the past week. We've had stuff like the Mets projected fielders, projected lineup. We've had draft profiles. We've had free agency predictions. Over a week ago, we posted about the Yankees potential free agent fits. So you want to check those out, especially if you are a Yankees or Mets fan or just a football or baseball fan in general. We're doing updates on all that. We're doing updates throughout the NFL offseason and the MLB offseason once it starts up again. Like we had a Derek Carr update the other day, a news update. So it's just going to be stuff like that you'll be seeing throughout both off seasons, and hopefully the baseball off season starts soon. So let's recap the Super Bowl. Rams got the win over the Bengals. It was over a week ago, so I think, or just about a week ago at this point. So I think instead of going through the content of the game, like we could talk about the pass interference calls at the end. We've all heard it from everyone. I just want to hear what are your guys' thoughts on the outcome of the game and the trajectory of these teams, how it affects the offseason, so on and so forth.
For me, the Bengals played a really good football game. The defense was stellar most of the game, and I was honestly, I was super impressed as to how the Bengals defense performed. But seeing Aaron Donald and Matt Stafford and OBJ get their rings, it was a really nice thing to see. Obviously, a heartbreaker for the Bengals. That fourth down play, they had Jamar wide open. If that O-line just blocked a little more, and everyone was saying it all season. The Bengals lasted much longer than we thought they would, but the O-line is what ended up killing them.
Yeah, I thought hell of a run for the Bengals. Really, like it when you're there, you got to enjoy it. But my first thought after that game was I saw a lot of Bengals fans and a lot of people in general saying that they'll get back. And yeah, they do have a young team. They've got a lot of young pieces. They got a lot of cap space, but you just don't know. You have one good run, and the Bengals. It was a great run, but the AFC is loaded. You have Lamar Jackson, who didn't even make the playoffs this year. You have Josh Allen, and you have Patrick Mahomes. A bunch of good teams, a bunch of people in the AFC that think they can win the Super Bowl. So for Cincinnati to go back, it's going to be tough. I think they have the pieces to do it. I think they're really young, and they actually probably should have won this game. Just a few mistakes down the stretch cost it to them. A few questionable penalties, but it was on both sides. So I didn't really have too much of an issue. The refs kind of kept the flags in their pockets until really late in the game. And they had a few questionable calls, but I'm not going to sit here and act like the refs won the Rams the game. They had that great drive down the stretch, and Cooper Kupp took over. So congrats to the Rams. They went all in. They traded all their draft picks. They went and got Stafford, and it paid off. You won a Super Bowl. You're forever enriched in the NFL history. And for the Bengals, they got a bright future, a lot of cap space. They got all their draft picks, a lot of ways to improve, but it's going to be tough to get back there in the AFC.
Yeah, and I want to just, instead of, you guys all talked about it, great story for the Bengals this year and for the Rams, Stafford getting the Super Bowl. But the Bengals, I think, going into next year, are the second best team in their division, as crazy as that is to say. And that could be debated too, and I could be totally wrong in a year. But the Ravens, when they're fully healthy, are still a fantastic team with an MVP quarterback, top 6-7 quarterback in the league. He's as good as Burrow is at playing the position. There's no doubt about it in my mind. But great season for the Bengals. I don't know if they'll get back to here because it's a really tough spot to get back to in general. And the way that the AFC landscape is right now, I see two teams definitely returning to the playoffs next year, and the Bengals are not one of them.
Yeah, the amount of stars that have to align for a team to win a Super Bowl, especially a team like the Bengals, it's really tough for me to just say that we'll be back. It's really challenging to win a Super Bowl.
I did
really
feel bad
like-
for their fans, though, coming from a suffering fan base
man.
myself. I mean, that's something that just you get there. For them who've never won a Super Bowl, at least I have, Namath to reflect on, which is nothing really. But 3 Super Bowls now. They've lost all 3 of them. Heartbreakers, most of them. And, they got a bright future, though. Only second year for Burrow, so.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to get carried away with the Bengals hype. There's going to be a lot of people on going into next season. I think we're probably like the only people who collectively agree that they like the Ravens. I think there's a lot of room for debate there, but I
Yeah.
just think Lamar off the injury. I mean, they were 8-3 at one point. They were the 1 seed. They're a really good football team. John Harbaugh's a great coach, but they were the
Yeah.
most injured team in the NFL, next to Tennessee by far.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. And let's not forget that the Bengals were not the most consistent team in the NFL.
No,
they were shaky on and off each week, and they got hot at the right time. But who is there
That's
to
all
say
it
that
takes,
will
yeah.
ever happen again?
That's all it
It's
takes
tough.
is to get hot at the right time. Like any team, like the Bengals had like the 3rd worst odds to win the Super Bowl going into this year.
They were as hot and cold
Same-
as the Chargers were. Win,
They
loss,
had
win,
the
loss, win,
same-
loss.
No knock on the Bengals, but if I go through that division next year, I think they have the 4th best head coach, the 3rd best roster. Because I think Cleveland's going to be back next year, like they were last year. Mayfield gets healthy; they should be competitive. But this is a really competitive division. It's probably the best in football, my opinion. It's the best in football, better than the NFC West. I don't see them going back here. I just feel like they blew their chance, and I know it's a negative way of looking at it with so much young talent. But I know that's how I would be feeling as a fan of the Bengals right now.
You
is
just-
we
You
know
can
how
never
hard it is to
say
get
you're going
back.
to be back. You can't.
Yeah.
You don't know.
I also think a lot of Bengals fans are just happy they were there. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
I would be as a Jets fan.
there's
I
gonna
would
be there's gonna be some of those who are feeling like us, like hardcore Bengals fans who knew like this might be their only chance. But I think that they'll be a consistent wild card, probably division favorite for like the next 10 years. Not favorite, but they'll be up there with a chance to win it. They're never going to be out of it, and I think they'll make the playoffs consistently. I just don't see how you strike lightning twice, because
Yeah.
a lot of things had to align for the Bengals to get to the Super Bowl this year, and that's all it takes. Like, that's all it takes for a team to go get a championship, and it could happen again, but it is going to be very tough for
Yeah,
them to
because
come
look
back.
at that AFC. I mean, Buffalo is going to be the toughest out in the league for the next few years, I think, in that conference. Right there with Kansas City, the 2 of them. New England's going to be tough with Belichick and Mac Jones. Always, they're always going to be tough. The Colts, I think, if they figure out their quarterback situation, is going to be tough. Herbert, once he gets there, we'll see what he can do. The Titans aren't going anywhere. They're probably going to win that division the next couple of years again, pending the Colts situation again. But I just don't. I don't know, man. And like I said, Ravens, Cleveland. There might be 7 or 8 teams in the league that could finish better than Cincinnati next year in the conference. That could finish better. Now,
absolutely.
will I be right about that? No, because someone always ends up like the Ravens, where they're all injured, and it won't happen. And the Bengals will certainly be in a wild card at the worst next year, in my opinion, unless they become the injured team. But it's just a tough AFC, and you got to feel that a game that they should have and could have won, they didn't win, and you might not get another chance.
Yeah, and like we've been saying, we've been on the Bengals for. I mean, they had an amazing playoff run. They're an exciting young team, and yes, they could get back to the Super Bowl, but you just never know. There's so many teams who win it once or get there once, and it'll be like, oh, we've got a bright future. We're gonna get back here. We're gonna right the ship again. And I mean, you can never just say for sure. Do I think the Bengals have a very bright future? Yes, but it is tough when you have an opportunity to win a championship like that, and it kind of just goes out the window.
Yep. All right. Can we move on from that now? I mean, Super Bowl, we have our thoughts. We have our thoughts on the Super Bowl, and we got, I don't know if you guys want to move to the quarterback conversation just yet.
Well, should we do, I mean, off season, what's been going on?
Let's look into a couple free agents. So we got a couple free agents here. We posted our first round of free agency predictions this past week. You can check that out at the GBU Pod on Instagram. But so this offseason we had Brady retired.
Before we move on, let's get Big Lenny's comment up here, because
and then I'm gonna get you address that. I'm gonna be doing it.
I mean, and even in that scenario,
hold on. I'll just read it out. Yeah. Bengals could very well be the last team in the AFC North come next year. Need to add pieces, especially that O-line. Yeah, O-line wins games. They should probably take O-line every pick of the draft, because we've been saying that about the Giants the last few years, and because the Giants are our local team, we follow them a lot. We joke sometimes, but not really joke, that they should just take offensive line every pick. That's what the Bengals should do. Because Joe Burrow, I mean, he was sacked 70 times all year, including the playoffs. That is not sustainable. This guy's going to be out of the league in 4 or 5 years if this continues to happen. Every playoff game, he was harassed. The Titans game, he got killed 9 times. The Rams game, he got killed 7 times.
And he's got TJ Watt in his division too. Like they're going to need to protect him if he plans.
Yeah, and the Ravens, the Ravens defense is always solid, and the Browns have Myles Garrett.
Yeah, he's got 3 defensive player of the year or 2 defensive player of the year candidates in his division that he has to face twice a year.
Bengals could really be 4th in the division next year.
I
wouldn't go that far. Yes, because anything could happen in the NFL. The Steelers,
Joe Burrow gets hurt.
The Steelers need a quarterback. They're probably going to be pretty bad if they.
I don't know though. Yeah, Tomlin knows how to win those games, man. And is the quarterback play going to be worse than what Roethlisberger gave us last year?
It depends. Really depends. It depends who they go. It certainly seems like they're going to draft a QB. So I'll say no, that it won't be worse. But there are rumblings that they might go for a veteran or stick with Mason Rudolph, which Mason Rudolph can't happen. He sucks.
No, can't. But if they have a season of, they draft Malik Willis with the 20th pick, I think they have 20th or 21st. Mm-hmm. They draft Malik Willis, sign a guy like Carson Wentz, who maybe hits free agency, or if they end up, Jameis Winston, if the Saints can't clear that cap space out, they could win 9, 8 to 10 games next year, definitely, depending on that quarterback position.
Every team in that division has the potential to win 10 to 12 games.
But the Steelers do have a lot more holes than the quarterback. I think their roster is a lot worse than people realize around the quarterback position, especially offensive line is not very good. Receivers are good, but not great. They need to give Najee Harris a line to run behind, though. And they're losing a lot on defense this next season.
It seems like before we move back to free agency, it seems like the Steelers are more likely to go after like a free agent quarterback or draft one rather than give up a haul for, say, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, even Jimmy Garoppolo, because a lot of people are saying some team might cave and give a first-round pick, which would be a terrible – if Washington gives up their first-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo,
it's not.
I don't like that. He's going to win. He can win them football games and would be an upgrade over Heineke, but not that much of an upgrade where I'd give up a top 15 pick for him. It seems like Washington wants one of the big fish anyway.
They definitely.
We'll see if they even draft. We'll see if they draft one too. They could.
Yeah, I don't think that they're gonna settle if there's any possible quarterback movement this offseason. I think that they'll be right at the front of it with Philadelphia, which makes the NFC East incredibly interesting for this offseason.
Philadelphia, you just never know because one day it'll be they're committed to Hurts. But then you think about it, and the Eagles have 3 first-round picks. So this is your chance, I think. Like, if they don't like Hurts, I feel like this is the year where you either go big for a big name with those first-round picks, or you keep with Hurts. I don't think they like him throwing downfield. I think that's a concern. But
and Hurts is kind of like the classic, he's going to play for 4 or 5 teams. He's going to be good on all of them. He'll probably get in the playoffs a couple times, but no one's ever going to commit to this guy in a full. I don't think they'll ever fully commit to him as their guy. He just feels like he's always going to be that middle of the pack player. Similar to Ryan Tannehill right now. I know the Titans are committed to him, but should they be? And we see him week in and week out kind of let them down, or he plays a good game. So I think Hurts is in that kind of tier of the middle quarterbacks where you're not going to get committed to, but there's not a lot of better options than you that are available, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I got
you. Yeah.
So speaking of availability, let's move into the
one last
possible movement. What do we got here?
I think Russ stays put. You never know. That's why we love football. Yeah,
well, this is what I was just going to move into here. We've got a couple quarterbacks here that could possibly get moved. Rodgers, we know they're trying everything to keep him. He hasn't made his decision yet. We have Deshaun Watson. Is he even going to be able to play next year? He'll definitely be attempted. The Texans will definitely attempt to move him regardless. We could have Hurts on the move, sending back to a team that's getting a quarterback, Carson Wentz, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jameis Winston's a free agent, and then, of course, Russell Wilson, like Len just said. So do we think Russ gets moved? Let's start with him.
I don't. I don't
I
think
don't.
so.
I don't either.
I
It
don't
doesn't
either.
seem like we haven't heard much. There hasn't been a lot of noise. So
There's going to be
I think he's
teams
gonna
calling,
stay.
and there's going to be teams who will put together a big package like Tampa, like Washington.
Yeah.
So there's going to be teams calling for Russ, and I think he ultimately stays in Seattle. But that's like, where does Seattle go from here without a first-round pick? Because they have to
Yeah.
continue to get better. But
If I was
think they have
Seattle,
cap space.
If I'm
personally-
They have
Seattle,
cap
I think
space.
you let go of Carroll and Wilson. I think it's an end of
Well,
an era.
Carroll was. I think that's why I thought Russ was going to get moved until Carroll came back for this upcoming season. Because why would he
Yeah.
come back if he didn't know that Russell Wilson was leaving or staying? But I think that if I was Seattle, personally, I'm trading him to Philadelphia for those 3 firsts and Hurts, because that's an incredible haul. I don't know if your team gets any worse making that
Yeah.
swap because of the 3 rookies you'll add, and then a quarterback that's really not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Philly calls Seattle and offers them those 3 mid firsts and Hurts, you definitely have to think about it. You definitely do.
I don't know how. I mean, I feel like that's if I'm Seattle, you got to take
But
that.
Seattle doesn't
But at
want
the
to
same
rebuild.
Yeah, but what's one more year of Russ gonna do for them? Like they're not a Super Bowl caliber team right now.
There's a
That
great
brings
window
us-
right now for a team like, well, then we'll jump to Watson, but there's a great window right now for Seattle personally. Reese, you just said it. Instead of waiting a year and weighing your options next season, there are 2 teams that are interested in Russell Wilson. You could either walk out with, pick 9 or pick 11 with Washington and Chase Young and other picks and players, or you could walk out with a QB that's ready now, just made the playoffs, coming off a wild card game, 7 seed, and Jalen Hurts, and 3 first-round picks almost consecutively in this year's draft. This is an opportunity that I don't think
It's
you
tough
get
to deny.
after
I don't
this
know how you say
season.
no.
Do we
But
think the
that-
Bucks end up with Watson? Do we think Watson plays? JD, do you have one more thing to say about Wilson there?
I'll mention it. It'll come up again later,
Okay.
and so I'll mention what I was going to say. The Bucks, I think, are going to take 2 big swings at Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. Honestly, I really think that if Watson becomes available, Washington will put together the best package. I just think, I think that if Chase Young and their first round pick is going to Houston in a trade for Deshaun Watson, I don't know how you say no to that. Now,
Yeah.
are they going to trade Chase Young? That's a rumor. I wouldn't, but for Watson, it seems like they're really desperate for a top tier quarterback, and I think while the Bucks will push hard, I feel like the 2 teams I see most likely for Watson are in the NFC East, unfortunately, for my Giants friends.
Yeah.
Philly and
A new quarterback's
Washington.
going to get added to the NFC East, whether it's Garoppolo, whether it's Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Rodgers. It won't be, but I'm just saying the span of talent. I don't know how good a quarterback that gets added to there is going to be, but there's going to be at least one new quarterback in the NFC East next season.
Watson in those Commanders unis. Yeah,
those are not good unis.
everything about Washington,
It's
the
bad.
stadium, the owner, just the
Everything.
team. It's just like gross. It's
But-
very.
But we do know
grimy.
that Russell Wilson has said he will play there if he was traded there. And I think that
Yes.
the case with Russell Wilson, though, is if they don't give up too much on the offensive side to get him, which I don't think they would be. And Deshaun Watson will play anywhere that's not Houston. So even though it's a disaster in Washington, the 2 guys that they want will play there.
I think with a quarterback, Washington can sneak in
Washington
the
could win that
playoffs.
division.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
think with the
I think
quarterback.
that's
for sure. I just wanted to backtrack on Watson for a little bit. If you're a GM and you don't know for a fact if Watson is playing,
He's
I don't know
not
how I
going
can
to.
throw.
He's not gonna
How
get
can you throw
traded.
4 first-round picks? 3
The only way
first-round
he
picks
gets
out there?
traded is if it comes out that he'll play next year. Which,
Now, I also
Okay.
think I agree with you guys, but I also do think if Watson does get traded, say Philadelphia gives up 3 firsts and Hurts, or Washington
If
gives
he
up the
doesn't
11
play,
and
they
Chase.
shouldn't have to give
But-
up the picks.
But no, but the
That's just
thing is that I think the NFL will speed up the process greatly if Watson is moved. They will speed up this legal process and they'll come to a decision. I think there'll be an inkling in a month when the trades are really heating up right before the draft, next month and a half. I think there'll be an inkling whether he will play or not, and it'll start moving in a certain direction. But I think if he gets traded, it'll speed up the process tremendously, whether it's a process that says he's got to sit for the year. But if you trade for Watson and he's out for next season, it's almost still worth 3 first-round picks if he's the same guy you got in Houston.
I think he's gonna play next year. If I don't
think
know,
he is too.
I
That's
have
the thing.
no.
What's a year? What's that much time off going to do for him too?
Not for a guy like
it's
him.
risky.
Not for a guy like I
I
don't.
don't know. A young quarterback.
If he
I
goes
don't,
out,
I don't
tears
know
his
if it's
ACL the first play, then what?
But I don't know
Like,
if it
then
makes
you
much of
screwed
a.
yourself.
But I think it's worth the risk. I do, because you might
I
be
do,
getting
yeah.
a top 5. He was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah,
Before
Yeah,
no, I
that's
agree.
so good.
If it's a must, if it's a team that all they need is a QB to get to the Super Bowl, then I agree. But if
But
I'm
Washington
if I'm
just needs a
between,
QB to get a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like they have a chance at will they win the Super Bowl? Probably not. They're probably still a little bit away. But if Washington gets Deshaun Watson, you have a chance. If you have a quarterback in this league, you have a chance. That's
Yeah.
just what it comes down to. So whoever gets Deshaun Watson will have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. We saw that with Joe Burrow this year. A Bengals team that won 3 games last year, 4 the year before. And, this team, is Burrow going to be a great quarterback or not? He's a great quarterback. They made the Super Bowl. What'd the Rams do? They upgraded at quarterback. They won the Super Bowl. The
Yeah.
Buccaneers,
no, it's
I
it's
can
the
go on
wave
every
right
year.
now. It's the
I can go on every year.
in the NFL
The Buccaneers
right now.
add Brady. They go from 3rd place to the Super Bowl.
And if a team commits picks and assets to Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson, that means they're all in, and they're probably going to have a lot of input on how the team's structured, just like
Yep.
Brady, Stafford, all these guys. These quarterbacks are seeing guys move to different teams and getting treated like kings, like Rodgers, Watson, Wilson. Those are 3 marquee quarterbacks who have thought about leaving at some point, and they see what Tom Brady did. They see what Matt Stafford did. It works. It works. If you get a quarterback, you'll be in playoff contention. You'll be in Super Bowl contention.
Yeah,
It'll
and
work.
I'm gonna assume that when he is, or if he is traded, that they have all of that figured out with all the legal stuff that he's
They
gonna
probably
play.
will. I don't know. That's what
Um,
KB said, that they might not, and they might speed it up if he does get traded. But what
But
I mean,
as the GM, are you going to fully invest, not even knowing the
Howie
legal
I
Roseman
don't know.
would.
situation?
Howie Roseman is one of the most aggressive.
Roseman
Him
might.
personally, so aggressive, he would go for it. He would.
I don't know
because-
if anyone else would, because Miami
and
didn't.
also,
Tough.
as a general manager, if you trade your picks for Deshaun Watson, it buys you an extra year, because you say, well, I just traded for this quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's not playing this year. You got to give me 2 more years, because you need to see my team with the quarterback that I invested in. That buys you another year. It buys everyone in the building another year. And sometimes that alone is enough for the prospect of a second contract, because of a guy like Watson you're waiting for him to play, is enough for a lot of guys in that building to pull that trigger to get him on that team.
A lot
And
of
who knows
It's gonna
GMs,
be
if-
interesting.
Where he sat out a year. Do the Eagles have to give up all 3 firsts and Hurts? They
I don't
might be
think-
able
I
to
don't-
walk
I don't
away
think
giving
If the
up
legal
2 firsts.
situation isn't figured out, I don't think so.
You might be able to give up 2 firsts and
2.
Hurts and still add another piece in the first round. If you're Washington, you might have to give up 11 and not even Chase Young, throw in another player in next year's first. So
I think
his
there's
value is
gonna
going down
be-
every day.
Yeah, a lot of quarterback carouseling talk to do.
Yeah.
There's still so
let's-
much.
For the next one, though, I want to just jump over Rodgers, because we're going to talk about him
Yeah,
plenty
we're gonna
today.
talk. It'll be a segue into the
But
next.
3 other quarterbacks that I want to talk about: Garoppolo, Wentz, Jameis. Question on Garoppolo: where do we think he'll end up? Question on Wentz: is he a starter next year? What are good fits? And same with Jameis.
I think the best fit for Jimmy G, thinking in Jimmy G's mind, is the Colts. If there's any team to go to, it's the Colts.
Or
I'm
the
assuming
Bucks.
Wentz-
The Bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd go Tampa. I think the problem with the Colts is that he's not a clear upgrade over Carson Wentz. So I don't
He's not,
think that
but
it actually.
I also feel like he performs in the clutch, and Carson Wentz just freaks the fuck out, and he'll throw the ball with his left hand. Jimmy G, he might lose you a game because of an interception, but he's not going to lose you a game because of a mistake like that. He's not going to. I mean, I don't know. I think Jimmy G's an upgrade.
He's
compared to
definitely
Carson.
going to lose that team a game at some point, but
Yeah.
he's also going to
But
do
he
enough
also has
to
playoff
win.
experience, and he has made some decent runs in the playoffs. So if he's able to channel that inner playoff in himself, then maybe he can take the Colts somewhere.
Yeah,
I do
but
think he gives them a better shot than
The
Carson.
issue with that is just that you're Frank Reich and you're the whole front office and ownership, and you've said, all right, well, we've spent money on Jacoby Brissett. Andrew Luck retired. This is their cycle of, so Luck retires.
Mhm.
They spend money on Brissett. Brissett doesn't work out. They go get Rivers. Rivers retires. He was the best quarterback that they've had since Luck out of the last 3. Then Wentz, they invest a first-round pick in Wentz and a third-round pick and a lot of money to take on his contract. They're going to have to release him now and take that contract hit. Are you taking another risk with a guy like Garoppolo that could flop again? If I'm moving on from Wentz, if I'm moving on from Wentz personally, it sounds like they're going to regardless. It has to be Wilson, Watson, or Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree with what Big Len's saying. I feel like Jimmy Garoppolo is actually a good fit in Indy, but Ballard is not going to invest in another quarterback like that who may not work out. I think they try to take a big swing at Russ. They definitely do try to take a big swing at Russ, but they don't have the picks this year. Other teams' packages are going to be better. I don't see how the Colts can build. Like, where do they go at quarterback? Where do the Colts go at quarterback?
I think that an interesting choice for the Colts at quarterback would be Jameis Winston, because you're not trading to get him. He's coming off an injury. You can't trade for a guy with the Colts unless it's a significant upgrade from Wentz. You cannot give up picks for another guy. Or if it's Jordan Love, that's an appropriate trade to make.
I was just going to mention that, yeah.
If you're the Colts, I would prioritize a guy who doesn't turn the football over, because that's what ended up losing.
But even last year, Wentz had 30 touchdowns and 10 turnovers, 7 interceptions. So it's still one of the better turnover numbers in the league.
The turnovers were costly.
They
were losing games.
He was handing teams interceptions. They were just dropping them. But he was reckless. But there was a stretch when the Colts turned it on from after like the first 5-6 weeks, in between the collapse at the end, where he played good football. But unfortunately for the Colts, they're in a bit of a bind because they cannot like financially afford to take him back. They have to cut him, because I don't know exactly what the details are, but there's a reason why they're forced to move on, and I'm not sure what it is. I probably should have looked, but I believe that there's some contract salary reasons why the Colts have to move on. I don't think Wentz was that bad towards the middle of the season when they were winning football games, but most of the time he was handing to Jonathan Taylor. So
here's another option for them. Two options that I'll throw out. One is Teddy Bridgewater. Started last year. Better than, I think, upgrade from Wentz, but you're not trading for him.
Barely.
I don't know if it's exactly. I don't know if it's any more from if you trade for. I think he's worse than Garoppolo, better than Wentz. Very interesting option in free agency is Mitch Trubisky after sitting a year with Buffalo. Could they decide maybe we send a third for Love or a second for Love and just get Trubisky? One of them's got to be good for us.
I definitely think Trubisky could get a chance from some team to at least, like, maybe there's going to be a clear-cut favorite, but at least show that he can still play. I think he'll get a shot. He
deserves a shot. I honestly
can get behind what you said, KB. I don't know what a trade package for Love would look like.
Yeah.
But if they brought in Love and Trubisky and had one of them battle it out, I feel like one of them would be capable enough to take over the Colts job. There's great O-line, young receivers. You have Jonathan Taylor, who is the best running back in football, or second best to Derrick Henry, probably.
And maybe bring in the QB whisperer Tyrod Taylor with him, another free agent that could win games as a starter right now. You know, he's not the guy you're looking to get into the playoffs, but
Jet legend Joe Flacco to Indy, says Higgy.
Flacco
number 19.
Flacco's still got some stuff left in the tank.
Higgy, I saw your comment about Washington, but
we'll
touch
address
on it.
Rodgers.
Yeah, we address Rodgers.
We'll probably end with Rodgers. So next, Jameis Winston. What do we think? Final for the QB carousel.
I think
I
could see back in New Orleans. I
think he'll be back in New Orleans, pending they cannot and will not clear the cap for him.
Well, I can't.
Yeah, if they can make it work.
Brady retiring, Len, I can't do it. I can't.
No, you knew he was going to bring up Brady at some point.
He's fucking retired.
He's gonna say it. He's gonna say it at some point. He's gonna say, "Oh, he's coming back." I've had enough of Tom Brady. I've had enough.
I'm so fucking done with this guy.
All right. Well, either way, so we got Winston. Winston this season was incredibly good. I think that we tend to forget.
Really good.
He had in how many games played? 1, 2, 3,
Saints are definitely a playoff
7 games.
team.
7 games. Winston had 1,170 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 102.8 QBR through those 7 games. I think Winston, Sean Payton really worked with him. He sat a year behind Drew Brees. I think this is a steal for a team like Indianapolis, or if New Orleans can bring him back for cheap.
Yeah, the move for New Orleans is to bring him back, I think. I don't know where they really go this year with a quarterback. But if they're able to get him back for cheap, you take him. But the Saints in their cap situation, they might have to scheme it a little bit, but they're still able to.
Draft. They may draft one too if they don't want to. If they want to just have a rookie quarterback under contract.
Just
I mean,
a bad
guys
idea either.
guys like Ritter who could fall to them. He probably will fall to them. He'll be there when they're picking. There's options in the draft. I think Winston though was good because they're a playoff team with Winston last year. Because the NFC's bottom tier of teams, like the 7 seed was the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Saints have Winston, I tend to believe that the Eagles get in.
The Saints defense is incredible.
The
Saints defense is
the Saints
so
could have made
good.
a run for that division last year with Tampa. They wouldn't have won it. But
They were
they
good
made
at
a run at
There
it.
were some games I saw the Saints watch where if they just had a slightly below average offense, they would have won.
I mean, they had no wide receivers either.
They had no
and
But
wide
they're
were
also
winning
going
games.
into a
Taysom Hill isn't a
situation.
quarterback.
They're going
It's
into a
just
situation right
bad.
now. Is Michael Thomas going to come back? Is Kamara going to be able to play for how long next year? If he is able to, he's dealing with some serious legal issues. So they're in an interesting situation that maybe Winston
wind up
says
debt-free.
maybe Winston says Michael Thomas isn't coming back. My wide receiver one was Marquez Callaway last year, and one of the best offensive minds in the league, just retired from coaching my team. Let me go play for Indianapolis, who was a quarterback away last year from winning their division.
I think that's the best signing for Indy.
Indy going from Carson Wentz to Jameis Winston is a wild move because those are two of probably the craziest quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Not like mentality wise, but just play
But
style. Like
play
these
style,
guys,
yeah, it's backyard football, but
Carson
not smart
Wentz
backyard
is
football.
never going down.
Winston last year definitely was
Carson Wentz will
at a
sprain
regular
both of his
level.
ankles before he takes a sack.
Yeah, Carson Wentz had Aaron Donald all over him and just thought he could continue the play. Like it's not Aaron Donald. He sprained both of his ankles on the same play. And Jameis Winston is the only 30 for 30 quarterback in the NFL. 30 touchdowns, 30 picks. I mean, how is that?
That is absurd.
How is that even real?
You can say whatever you want about Bruce Arians' system. No one throws 30 fucking interceptions.
Imagine a Brucey and Winston reunion. God, I think Arians
It's
wanted
not
to kill him.
impossible.
It's not. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not.
I just don't. I think
Winston
Arians
could
wanted to
easily
kill him that
stay in
year.
that division on a different team because Carolina needs a quarterback too.
Carolina, I don't know.
Carolina,
God,
Tampa.
what do you do,
and-
Carolina? You don't. I
Carolina-
don't know about CMC.
It's not even
anymore.
worth our
That
time.
guy's
Carolina
That
is
rules
like-
team is not worth our time.
Yeah.
Carolina's just the driest team I think in football.
Yeah,
like
it's
I just
rough.
don't even. How are they? I just don't
Jets,
even know.
Panthers,
When you're
week
bad
one
for a
this year
few
was
years,
pitiful.
when you're bad for a few years and you have the same head coach and you don't get rid of him and you have all these terrible quarterbacks, it's just like it gets so stale.
It's
Yeah,
demoralizing.
the Panthers are stale. That's actually a good way to put it.
Because
I don't
even the Giants would have been the same team this offseason if they kept Judge and Gettleman was gone anyways. But if they went like Judge and Abrams, but when you reset at either head coach or quarterback, it gives us something to watch. But now it's just the Panthers, unless they trade for Watson or Wilson, which won't happen because I don't think those guys will really want. Watson would, but I don't think that they'll get the bid for them. It's just that team's so stale.
They got Darnold. Darnold fucking
Say-
sucks.
Darnold, what a bust, man.
I
Oh
feel
my
bad
God.
for him, but he's gotten 2 chances now to make it work, and it's.
You know what's the craziest part? Though and I'm not saying he'd be good on any other team. He's had 2 chances, and both times he had the 32nd ranked offensive line in football.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's unfortunate for him.
That is
I
just
mean,
terrible.
Yeah, he got
terrible
thrown
luck.
down the shitter. I mean, he was on the Jets. You knew his career was shit after that. There's no coming back. The Jets
Yeah.
ruined him.
All right, let's segue into our hot topic of the day. We had a little bit of I think, I wasn't involved myself, but it was a heated debate yesterday. We decided to involve it in the show, and I'll say my piece on the show instead of yesterday when we were all talking about it. Brady's gone. No quarterback in the NFL has more than 1 ring as a starter. Garoppolo's got a couple, but it's
Backup, yeah.
all his backups. So the only guys to play in multiple Super Bowls as a starter too right now is Mahomes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mahomes is the only guy?
Yeah, I think. I'm trying to think, but I think so. I think Mahomes. I'm trying to think recent Super Bowls. Goff played in one. I mean,
Starting
that's
quarterbacks to win a
terrible.
Super Bowl now in the league are Rodgers, Mahomes. Who am I missing? Rodgers, Mahomes, Russell Wilson. So there's not a lot, basically. That's the point.
Stafford.
Is that Stafford now too. Yeah, those are the 4. Stafford, Russell Wilson, Mahomes, and Rodgers are the 4, and then you have Flacco's
Really?
a
There's
backup.
only
Nick
4?
Foles is a backup.
Garoppolo,
if you
who
think
was
about
a backup.
how many games did Brady win? And the years he didn't win, it was Eli, Peyton,
We said
Flacco,
Russ.
or
Big one. We
Foles.
said Russ. Said Big Russ. We said Russ.
God.
So
We
the
got
only
him.
starters in the league with rings are Stafford, Russ, Mahomes, and Rodgers.
I
So
think.
who's the best quarterback in the NFL?
I
Who
mean,
should,
do,
who should
you,
go
And
first here? I
I'll
feel like
let
I
you
should.
guys. I'll let you guys go
So
first
JD
because
gets
you're
the
both
floor
on the
with
same
Rodgers.
guy.
then you can counter us, and we'll counter you. We'll counter
Well,
you.
I have a nice 5-6 minutes to. So I'm just gonna go. I'd prefer to go uninterrupted with mine and do mine as a whole thing. So I'll let you guys
Yeah.
do the same.
Yeah.
So Reese, no. I'll go first. Higgy, it's not Josh Allen, and KB's gonna argue Josh Allen. I am
It's
very fascinated to hear why Josh Allen is the best, because honestly, I can't think of a reason. And for Mahomes, I could see an argument, but Aaron Rodgers is the
I will
best.
just say this right before we start. I think personally, Rodgers is my third quarterback in the league right now. Third best. Allen's 1, Mahomes is 2, but it's a 1A, 1B. Rodgers is a clear 3 for me. I will tell you why.
I got my 1A and 1B, but
I will tell you
Josh
why.
Allen's just
And
not there.
and usually the ring goes a very long way with me with coaches and quarterbacts. It
No,
does
but-
not go a long way with me that
Yeah,
Allen doesn't
okay.
have one. It does not go a long way with me that Rodgers has one 13 years ago. But let's.
Are you going to take points off of Rodgers because of his playoff performances?
Why wouldn't I? We're talking about the best quarterback in the NFL.
No. Best quarterback currently in the NFL is Aaron Rodgers, and one playoff game does not.
No, it's not one. I have one,
No.
two, three,
Currently,
four,
we were not
five playoff games of
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers
Wait.
and 4 regular seasons that Allen's been in the league to 4 regular seasons that Rodgers has been in the league that tell me all I need to know.
What about how Mahomes went to the Super Bowl, won, made the champ game, lost, made the Super Bowl, lost, or made the champ game again?
Are you
lost.
arguing for Mahomes here or Rodgers today, Reese?
I'm arguing for Rodgers. Rodgers is my 1A,
Okay.
Mahomes is
So
my
give me
1B.
your Rod speech. Don't give me your Mahomes speech.
I'm saying Rodgers is the better quarterback statistically in the regular season and
Okay.
into the playoffs. Rodgers has made plenty of big throws in the playoffs. He is a good quarterback in the playoffs. It is very hard to string up 4
been
incredible
worse.
games that he hasn't dealt with the best case scenarios
Okay,
either.
give me.
he lost off an
I want to hear
onside
both
kick
of
in
yours,
Seattle.
and then I'm going to do mine.
Yes.
Okay.
So all you have to do, literally, to know Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football is watch him throw, because the last 2 years have been his best years since he won the Super Bowl, and in 2011 when he had the greatest passer rating of all time. In 2020 he had the second greatest passer rating of all time, only to himself. And guess who's third? Aaron Rodgers again in 2014. He had 48 touchdowns and 5 picks. He has 85
you go.
touchdowns and 9 interceptions in 2 years. And I'll argue that his better season was 2021, even though 2020 is statistically far
I would
away
argue the same thing.
his better season.
I would
I think
argue
in
the same thing.
2021, after he had COVID, and yes, he's not everyone's favorite person. He made a lot of controversial statements, but after he came back from COVID, his week 10 to week 18 stretch, 20 touchdowns, no interceptions, is one of the best quarterbacking regular season stretches that I have ever seen. The way he was throwing the football and the way he was moving it down the field. Now, part of it, what he got away from in the playoff game, was he had the toe injury, and the toe injury was forcing him to stay in the pocket and get the ball out quick. That's when he's at his best. That's when he's at his best. No, he was healthy in the playoffs. In the playoffs, what went wrong was he had the toe injury. He was healthy and thought he could hold on to the ball and turn into the guy he was 10 years ago. That didn't happen. We know he had a bad game against San Francisco. I will acknowledge that. But his stretch from week 10 to week 18 was far and away the best quarterbacking in the NFL, best regular season stretch I have seen in my entire life. The toe injury, Big Len, I know you're done with the toe injury. I got it. I fucking get it. I get it. The toe injury, I'm saying, helped him. It's not an excuse I'm making. The toe injury caused him to play from the pocket and step into throws that when he's not injured, he thinks he's Superman. He thinks he's still 20 years old and can run around. He thinks he has Bakhtiari as his left tackle. He doesn't. That's what went wrong in San Francisco. I'm saying when he's in the pocket, throwing like he was in the end of this season is some of the greatest quarterbacking I have ever seen. I just don't know how you could argue that anyone's been better recently. But KB, I'm willing to hear. I really am.
I think, and I will preface by saying there are 3 quarterbacks in the league right now in Mahomes, Rodgers, and Allen that, in my opinion, any of them can be your one. I don't blame you for taking any of them. But my case for Allen is something that I firmly believe in. And I'll start with a couple things one thing that does not take points off of Rodgers in this debate, but is something that I think has to be accounted for, is his leadership qualities and his qualities as a teammate. It has to be accounted for that this guy just had a whole offseason last year basically saying, this is my final season on the team. This is my last dance. You score one touchdown in the divisional round and lose 13-10. And now it seems like a little bit embarrassing and hopefully a little bit humbling for Aaron Rodgers. But here's my case comparing the two. And I'm not going to bring up Aaron Rodgers in 2011 because that has nothing to do with who's QB1 in the NFL in 2022. Over the last 4 seasons, these two players, I'll start with the regular season since that's our huge debate with Rodgers and Allen. Rodgers' claim to fame and claim to greatness is his regular season play since he's won a Super Bowl is his regular season play. I do not watch for 13-3. I watch for February. That is who I watch for. And Josh Allen hasn't been there either. So I understand that makes my debate a little bit flawed, I guess you could say. Allen this year in the regular season had more completions on more attempts. So throw completions and completion percentage out of the window. He had more touchdowns. 12 more points were contributed to Buffalo by their quarterback this year. Not a huge difference. 2 more touchdowns. 12-point difference. 600 more yards from Josh Allen this season were contributed to his offense. He had more passing yards and he had more rushing yards. Cute, though, that Aaron Rodgers threw 4 interceptions. Josh Allen's turnovers only affected his team in 1 game this year that resulted in a loss. That was the Jacksonville game when they lost 9-6. If you think I'm not going to account for playoffs in a debate about the best quarterback in the NFL, you are incredibly mistaken. Josh Allen, since entering the league 4 years ago, versus Aaron Rodgers since Allen entered the league 4 years ago. Start in 2018 versus Atlanta. I want to also say that the 2 games before that, Rodgers was magnificent against New York with the Giants and Dallas. That Dallas game was one of the best games I've ever seen a quarterback play in the playoffs. But since the 2018 game versus Atlanta in the NFC Championship, I'm going to go through all of these games. 2018 versus Atlanta, they lost 44-21. 0 for 6 on the first 6 offensive drives, 0 for 5 in the first half. They were down 31-0 in the third. He played fantastic after being down 31-0. They lost 44-21. 2020 versus San Fran. They were 0 for 6 once again to start on offense. They went down 27-0 at halftime. So twice, 2 years in a row, his team is completely out of the game at halftime. 2020, 2021, they lose to the Bucs in the NFC Championship, but the game before that against the Rams, Rodgers played fantastic in a win. So did Aaron Jones. The whole team played fantastic in a win that game. Against Tampa Bay, to start the fourth quarter, the Packers defense took the ball away twice within 5 minutes. The Packers went 3 and out twice in must-score situations. In 3 must-score touchdown drives in the fourth quarter, they scored none. And I will give, a pass on the last one when LaFleur kicked that awful field goal on that 4th and goal. But they scored no times on 3 chances in the fourth quarter in a must-score situation. So that's 3 years in a row that Aaron Rodgers did, 3 out of 4 years, 3 straight trips to the playoffs, that Aaron Rodgers either took his team out of the game in the first half by playing very poor football, or had the chance 3 times against Tampa and lost. 2022 versus San Fran, I don't have to get into it. He played terrible, and his biggest problem of recent memory is he cannot play without Davante Adams when Davante's on the field. Davante was targeted 11 times against San Fran. No one else got more than 1 except for Aaron Jones. He only looked at Davante. How many times could you watch the film of that game and see him looking at only Davante, and Lazard or Mercedes Lewis was open, and They kind of looked off Lewis, I think, after the fumble, which is okay. But so many players open in that game, but he never took his eyes off Adams. Let's go to Allen's 4 years in the league and his playoff stats. Highest rated passer rating, more yards than Rodgers, 2,071 yards in 6 games. Rodgers' last 6 playoffs games, he has 400 less yards. Allen has 3 more touchdowns, and Rodgers has a 12-5 touchdown to interception ratio. Allen's 15-1. Allen has more wins in 6 games. He played a perfect game against the top 5 defense in New England. He played a perfect game against Kansas City. 374 and 5 touchdowns against New England. They didn't get stopped once. 397 and 4 touchdowns against Kansas City. We all know if he got the ball there, that's a different game. He lost in overtime, his first career playoff game against Houston. He had 356 yards and no turnovers. 2020, they beat Indianapolis last season in the 2021 playoffs. 378 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't want to interrupt, but didn't Josh Allen have the game-losing fumble against the Texans?
No, it was a handoff. It was a handoff fumble to lose the game in overtime. Or no, actually, I'm mistaken. He threw a terrible pass in overtime. They punted back to Houston in overtime. They won the toss, and Houston kicked a field goal. Allen threw an awful pass. He lost in the game. But he got them to a point in overtime and they were up. They blew a big lead too. So that game I don't want to give to him, but I'm just trying to emphasize the no turnovers and the incredibly high passer rating.
Yeah, for me, when I'm evaluating who's the best quarterback in the league, I feel like you have to look at past years and the situations they were put in as well. For me, comparing, Allen's number 3 for me. Obviously, if I felt the way you did about him, I would look more into it. But my 1A and my 1B is Rodgers and then Mahomes.
So why to you is Rodgers better than Allen?
Well, yeah, I think Rodgers is better than Allen just due to experience. I think they're about
his experience hasn't gotten
performance level. I think they're at about even performance level. I think Rodgers is still better. But Josh Allen doesn't have a ring yet. But I'm not going to talk about Allen right now. I want to talk about Mahomes and Rodgers and why Rodgers is my number 1 over Mahomes. I think when you look at these champ games that all of these guys have played, they've all made it to the big game, and they've both individually choked in certain scenarios, but they both have 1 ring. They both haven't gotten back since they won. And if you're putting those 3 guys in a pocket, who do you want on your team? I don't know how you don't say Aaron Rodgers.
Because in a big game, though, this is the point of what I'm saying. He can get me the 1 seed, he can get me home field advantage. He can score 10 points against San Fran, and I don't care. He scored 7 points on the opening drive against San Fran. He never found the end zone again.
Well, yeah, but Josh Allen lost them a playoff game, but
when?
We just talked about it in Houston.
In Houston, his first career playoff game. He got them to overtime, and they lost.
What was Rodgers' first career playoff game? Did he lose?
I'm not going to 2008.
It was a 54-48 OT loss. Which
it's also not. It's pretty tough to compare a guy. The fact that Rodgers is still competing with a guy who's been in the league for 4 years is another story.
It's incredible. Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, but who do I want going into 2022? It's
not
Rodgers.
Going into 2022 for one more year.
Question.
Yeah.
Who's QB1 right now? Who's QB1 right now?
It's Aaron Rodgers.
If you want a quarterback,
so that's who you want going into 2022. That's
if I want a quarterback for 1 year,
yes. If I need to pick a quarterback for my future,
Aaron Rodgers
it's Mahomes and Allen, 1A, 1B.
Aaron Rodgers has been on the 1 seed team for the last 3 seasons. He has let his team down in the playoffs for the last 3 seasons.
And it's
not like he was alone.
Keep signing up for. He's not alone. Reason no one's ever alone in this. The ultimate team sport.
I'm not gonna.
But when I have a guy like Allen who has a historic start to his playoff career and he has not lost his team games in Kansas City in last year's NFC Championship, Allen had them up 9-0. They were down 14-9. With 9 minutes, it was 9-0 at the end of the first quarter. The Bills defense didn't get a stop for the rest of the game. He should have been the way he played. He should have been in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, but he wasn't.
Though. But Aaron Rodgers has not played in a game that I've said, oh, he should have been in the Super Bowl that year because of how he played in that conference championship.
Rodgers' career though it started the same way, except he won a Super Bowl in the beginning of his career.
But I'm not.
So we don't know
2011 Rodgers to today's Mahomes.
But we don't know how Josh Allen's career projects. Is he going to win a Super Bowl? I don't know. I probably will. But we said that after Rodgers won his first one that he'd probably get back. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not going to argue for Aaron Rodgers' bad playoff performances. He played bad versus San Fran. He played bad down the stretch versus Tampa Bay. I'm not denying that. The 2016 and 2019 games, I don't blame him. He didn't. The 2016 game,
I agree with the Atlanta game. I don't actually blame him, but he didn't play a good enough game.
He played so good that year, and I'm not like arguing like 2016 Rodgers for my next year case, but he played so good that game, and our team was so bad. Our team was so bad. I don't know. The defense was bad. Our offense has always been good with Mike McCarthy. The defense was terrible. So that I feel like that just gets voided. The San Fran losses are tough because he does continually lose them. The 2019 game, our offense started out flat, and San Fran was just too good. Our run defense was too bad to even catch up to them at that point. So, yes, and the Tampa Bay game down the stretch, the offense stalled. I'll give you that. But if the Packers have a competent special teams, I guarantee we're having a different conversation right now.
But should we even be like? Are we not giving a pass?
10 points is not an excuse. No, I'm not giving him a pass. But if we have one punt, it is you don't know how the season plays out. I'm not going to say we would have beat the Rams, even though I might believe that.
Yeah,
can't say.
Yeah, but you could also argue one coin toss for Allen.
Yeah, anything. That's how football is. It's just anything can happen to bounce. A coin toss, one play, and the game swings. I'm just saying the last 2 years, and I really know that he played bad in the final game of the year, obviously because they lost. But the way in 2020, after they took Love, and he came out and he played so good in 2020. And unfortunately, I thought that was the year they'd win, and they lost to Tom Brady. They ran into a good team. And then to come back for 2021, he had the bad first game, and then after the Detroit Monday night game, he was so good all year. I just watched that, and I think that's the best quarterback in the league. And I love Josh Allen, and I love Patrick Mahomes. But your first point, KB, about the Rodgers being a bad teammate and stuff, and he did create some drama, but I think he's a hell of a teammate.
I'm not. The teammate is not the issue for me. It's not the teammate. It's
the drama,
the unnecessary attention and cockiness that's brought to a team that has no reason to have it.
I can understand that. I can get behind your point there. But for me, personality and what you're bringing onto your team, if you're still winning, he's bringing all that stress onto his team in week 1. He's still going 13-3, 14-3.
So now I know we're not the biggest NBA group here, but is James Harden the best player in basketball?
Not even close.
No.
He has the best stats, and he could win the MVP every single.
Yeah, but it's just
he has the best stats, but his team doesn't win. His team doesn't win.
They've been a 1 seed in Houston. They were the 1 seed every year. And they were the 1 and 2 seed every year, and they never got past the second round.
But
It's the same guy. It is. It's the same guy.
I'm not
the
gonna,
regular season stats, dude.
It's not just. This is not just stats based. It's just watching Aaron Rodgers. This year.
I watched Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and I'm more amazed than I am
Josh Allen shit himself multiple times, including in Jacksonville throughout the regular season. Yeah. He played
He won his division. He got into the playoffs. Him and Rodgers were in the same place in the division round, and one of them actually played a hell of a game. The other one,
Aaron Rodgers can catch fire in the playoffs too. I
haven't seen it in the last 4 years. I haven't seen it in the last 4 years. I haven't seen it since Dallas.
If the Packers win the Super Bowl next year, are we going to be surprised? No, I don't think so.
I don't
think so.
I will be incredibly surprised next year.
They're the 1 seed again in the NFC, and you just have to hope Rodgers brings his best collective games in the playoffs.
How could you?
And unfortunately, it hasn't happened. You can't count
on any quarterback showing up for 4 straight games. Clearly, you can't count on Allen. You can't. Count on Mahomes. You can't count on
Allen because I can count on Allen because he hasn't had a bad game since his Houston game, and that wasn't even a bad game. He lost to Kansas City. Did he play bad?
He didn't play bad. No, but he's lost. He hasn't won a Super Bowl.
That's all that matters. It's a bounce.
So him and Rodgers, if we want to talk about winning, and Allen's won more games in the last 6 games that they played in the playoffs. If we want to talk about that, then winning doesn't matter for either of these guys.
Allen and Rodgers end the season in the same place anyway.
Yeah, they're sitting on the couch.
One of them plays a hell of a game to go out. One of them does not. and one of them
But-
hasn't in a long time.
But
I don't understand how we can ignore his playoff blunders.
We're
I
not
don't-
ignoring it. He said JD even
I've
said that he wouldn't ignore
acknowledged
it,
it.
but
I
don't.
honestly,
but I don't think that gives
We've
Allen the
acknowledged it, but
absolute
we're not
edge.
accepting. We're not giving.
I
it-
don't
I'm
think
not- but
one
dude,
game takes away from the greatness I watched
It's
all
not
year.
one game, and he's still the
It is
first
one
ballot Hall of
game.
Famer. It's not one game.
Unfortunately,
I
it
just
was the
gave you
biggest
4,
game.
and you agreed with me.
No, I don't think he played that bad in the Tampa game. I really don't. I think
The
he
Tampa
had
game, he had
down the
3
stretch-
chances in the
down
fourth
the
quarter to
stretch-
score. He did not get a first
down-
down on the first
down
2.
the stretch. He had chances. He had 2 3-and-outs. Yes, but a lot of that, it's not just him. Does he have to make a play, go get a touchdown? Yes, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Can I tell you the
He has to
solution?
do that. But there's so much else that goes into losing a game that it's
Can
not.
I tell you the
just him.
solution to Aaron Rodgers? Devontae Adams can't be on this team next year because
It's just-
he has to figure out how to play with
He
other
does
players.
all year. It's just unfortunate that in the playoffs he
Because
didn't do it.
teams in the playoffs know that it's better. Quite frankly, it's better coaching staffs than Green Bay has that know how to marginalize Adams and their offense. And
That's
Rodgers
fair.
cannot combat that.
That's also
has not
fair,
been
but
able
but they also have so many more years of film on Rodgers. You can't say that Allen won't
Oh,
be the
come
same
on.
exact player.
It's a
The
different
49
offense for the last 3 years.
The
It's a different
49ers
Rodgers. He's been better than he was the first however many years. Since 2014, this has been his best part of his career since 2014.
It's not. It's
playing well.
Devontae Adams is not. That's just it. All year.
Devontae's not the problem. He's the
I
best
know.
receiver
I know
in
that's
football.
what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
I
no, he
really
is the
do.
best receiver.
But he didn't. What's so bizarre about him shitting his pants this year in the playoffs is he did not do that with Devontae Adams all season, which is
He didn't the previous years either.
which is how it's so bizarre how the team just collectively, besides the defense, the offense collectively plays their worst game. The offensive line, Rodgers, Lazard was open on that final drive. After all that, even the block punt and the touchdown, it's 10-10. Lazard was open on that drive, and any other game, which is why it's so bizarre. I don't know what happened to him. I can't explain it.
Dude, I'm telling you, it is not bizarre because you watch the film. He only looks at Devontae.
No. In the
He
regular
does.
season, he spreads it around.
Regular season and playoffs are two different. It's
But I'm
two different animals.
I acknowledge that, but he didn't. I'm saying it's just crazy how all year he was spreading it around and losing Tunyon hurt because he's one of his favorite targets too. But he won a game in Arizona without Devontae Adams and their top 3
and he's
receivers.
He's better without when he doesn't force himself to look at Devontae. He's a better quarterback in big games. Listen, we could spread the ball out against Detroit, Chicago, and Minnesota all year if we want to. But when he gets into the playoffs and he's got San Fran and he's got the Rams and he's got the Bucks, he can't do it. He cannot do it. And he could easily get past that mental block next season. He easily
But I know
could.
he can. I know he can. That's the thing.
And
I know
until
he can
I
do it.
see him do that, I cannot trust Aaron Rodgers to win me a playoff game. Therefore, he's not my QB1.
So does your opinion change if you're saying if we're going just regular season, does your opinion change?
Yes.
Because
Yes. If I
okay.
am just in the regular season, I need a guy to win me 13 games, get me a first round bye. It is Aaron Rodgers. But
I just don't.
I would
but Josh
settle,
Allen hasn't even won a Super Bowl, so I don't know how if in the
I don't
regular
even,
season
dude.
you
In
give.
this debate, like I cannot.
But you said
I'm
you played in
acknowledging-
February.
I'm acknowledging, and then
Or you
I
watched
right
it
after that.
February.
What I said right after that. That's
don't
why
know.
my argument is flawed, because Allen hasn't played them. But when it comes to Rodgers, when I'm talking about him getting into the Hall of Fame, yes, his Super Bowl counts. When I'm talking about who do I want right now to be my quarterback, his 2010 Super Bowl does not count for me. Who I want right now, because he has not taken that experience and taken over a postseason since.
It's a fair point. But he's been to plenty of. It's not like he's one and done every playoffs. He's not. It's not like he shits
This
the bed
year,
every time he
yeah,
touches a football. This year, yeah.
he
But
has
he made
had
the
good
NFC
playoff
championship
games,
3
but
straight
I
years.
I
besides this year.
know yes, KB it does end with heartbreak a lot, but he does show up. He has shown up for playoff games. It's unfortunate.
Yes.
It's unfortunate, really, the way the season ends, because this guy, if he plays the way he does in the playoffs that he does in the regular season every season, they really probably have, I think, 4 or 5 rings.
They
I'm not even
easily
kidding.
do, but he doesn't. That's
But
my issue with him.
I'm not I really think Aaron Rodgers playoffs in. I get you cannot say playoffs aside because you can't just dispute the playoffs. I still with the bad playoff performances, just think he's the best quarterback, and I would want him going into the next season. I really do. He's just played too good the past 2 years.
So for me, the regular season success of winning the MVPs and the incredible turnover numbers from Rodgers, it's nothing we've ever seen before with Rodgers' regular season touchdowns to turnovers. But I'd rather have a guy that gets me the 3 seed and gives me his best game of the season every week of the playoffs, like Josh Allen does. It unfortunately hasn't translated to wins. Bad coaching from McDermott this past year and bad defense has been what has killed Buffalo. And if we're talking about teams, Buffalo's certainly not the best because they haven't shown it to me either. I would have to go Kansas City with Mahomes to be the best team.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Right now, Josh Allen has done nothing since his first career playoff game where he still didn't turn the ball over in 356 yards of offense. Allen has done nothing to show me that he's not the best playoff quarterback in the NFL after Mahomes. And I think that Allen just has been better. I just can't give him that edge, I guess, because Mahomes won a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
So
and beat him this past year.
Is Allen your MVP guy going into next year?
No.
Like, you think he's going to have the best season?
He's not.
It's just a question. It has nothing to do with Rodgers.
Because when Buffalo wins, Buffalo is up 21-28 nothing out of the gate. And it's 2 touchdowns and 260 yards for Allen, and then it's Trubisky's game. That's just the way that Buffalo wins regular season games. And they've lost a good amount of regular season games too. McDermott and Allen have not shown up every few weeks in the regular season. But Allen has not had a playoff game yet in his career over the last 4 seasons where he did not show up and bring his best game of the season. Because even in that Houston game that he lost, it was his best game of the season. Because it wasn't great his second year, his first year as a starter. He wasn't a very good quarterback. And he brought his best game of the season that year in that game. The following year, he brought his best game of the season 2 weeks in a row, really 3 weeks in a row. He brought incredible games last year in last year's postseason. And this past season, he had his 2 best games of his career in his 2 playoff games against a top 5 defense and a third time playing them. And I do, so I to go to the Davante Adams point too, I take back what I said too. They don't get rid of Davante Adams, but I meant to really say he has to find out how to work when he's not open.
Or they can get, and I like Lazard, and I know what's even more shocking is that he went through it in the offseason to make sure he got Cobb back from the Packers.
Guy like Odell, I know what you're going to say. So
Odell would have won them a Super Bowl.
A guy like Odell goes a long way for that team, possibly.
It really was odd how he didn't even look at Cobb or Lazard, and those are not 2 guys who are changing what the Packers do on offense. They're good. Randall Cobb was good, but he's past his best years. And Allen Lazard's a great run blocking guy. He's almost like a tight end, but he's not opening it up downfield. And Valdez-Scantling is a free agent. They probably don't re-sign him. He doesn't make that much of a difference. He's fast. He can open up the field, but they need just weapons. Then they have to go surround. I know they had it. They were there. They had a great team, but they have to go get more weapons because he does not trust half of the guys besides Davante.
Can we segue this into Packers are currently $40 million negative in cap space. Aaron Rodgers, if he's staying, which I do firmly believe he is, and he will be back next year, is going to get money added to his salary, which will probably be backloaded when they do it. They'll give him 4 or 5 years backloaded.
His 2022 salary is very high. It will get rearranged in a way where it does free up cap in the short term.
So then we have Davante is probably going to be back on the franchise tag initially, I think, with Green Bay while they're still trying to clear their cap. So that's another $20 million. So that's $60 million as of now if Rodgers doesn't get any added. But JD, I'd have to agree with you. I think Rodgers' contract for next year will probably go down to about 25-30.
Yeah.
With a ton of added money on the back end. But can they even improve? I feel like for Green Bay, there is 2 situations here. And the first one and the right one is run it back with Rodgers if you could. The second one is we could get rid of Rodgers. We could let Davante walk. and we don't have to lose all the pieces we're going to lose on defense, and we can try to build an offense with a little more depth. You'll lose the best receiver in football, but maybe you can add 2 good receivers to love, like just 2, like Christian Kirk type of guy, or draft a guy like nothing crazy, but so that's 2 dynamics that Green Bay can look at. They can clear $70 million with 2 players, so they'd have $30 million free with or like 15 because Devontae hasn't gotten that contract yet.
I want to go back to what Higgs said before with the package. Now, I feel like throughout the season, I always thought that Green Bay low-key wanted to move Rodgers and just they were trying to win the public PR battle too. I think that deep down they wanted him back for another year, and then they wanted to move on. Now, the fact that they're not even listening to teams, and the fact that they don't even want to think about trading Rodgers tells me everything I need to know about what they think of Jordan Love. If Jordan Love, I'm trying to find the right words. If he's in a better spot with the coaching staff and the team, and they think he's good, I really think that you listen to a package from Washington for Chase Young and picks. But the fact that they will not even entertain the idea of trading Rodgers tells me that they do not believe in Love and think that committing to Rodgers for another 4 years is the move. So the idea of having a top pick, like 2, 3 first round picks, really good picks that the Packers don't usually have in the high. They had one real top 15 pick, I think, the last however many years, and it was Rashawn Gary because they had the Rodgers injury. Which caused him to be.
That was after McCarthy's last season, right?
That was So
I remember that.
The idea, I'm sure they like the idea of going to get young guys, but it seems like Rodgers. They're going to go with Rodgers. They're going to pick where they are in the draft, not be active in free agency because, frankly, they'll be worrying about their own cap space situation and getting under the cap. They're going to cut to Darius Smith. I know KB, you've said I actually. Higgy said he wanted him. I don't know if you like.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take him, but like
he's coming off back surgery, but he's still like he was an All-Pro pass rusher the last 2 years. So he may go back to Baltimore. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that could be a nice spot. Even I've seen Minnesota, but
the Giants clear the cap. That I think they will. They have a chance with Winkley.
There's ways that the Packers can get under the cap and keep the team. They have to improve through the draft. They need young wide receivers. That's really, and then a tight end. I don't know if they re-signed Tanyan. I think there's room to improve, but it's definitely going to be tough to top the talent that the last team had.
This is totally off topic. So we're talking about that McCarthy final season. Do you remember when Darnold went toe to toe with Rodgers?
That was a fucking great.
And Herndon made that one-handed catch. Herndon made that one-handed catch over the middle, and I'm like, dude. These are the guys. These are the guys. They both getting traded for a 2 and a 6. Was Darnold the 2 and a 6? Somehow we forged a 4 for Herndon. I mean, oh my god!
Didn't Andre Roberts take with kick 6?
No, it was. It did. Yeah, he did.
He was an All-Pro.
He did, and then Rodgers threw a touchdown.
We're just an All-Pro. We're an All-Pro kick returning factory.
Yeah.
This is going,
and then we let him go.
This is going to sound like really like I'm very JETS. Yeah. I'll acknowledge like regular season I'm very spoiled. That game against the Jets was the first time that I had it was the first game where we were out of playoff contention like in my life. Yeah. Watching a football game, I didn't have any stakes in it. It was just let's just watch the Packers.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could relate because that was the 786th game we were out of playoff contention in our life.
Yeah, dude,
we're now up to
that was the Super Bowl. We won that game.
We're now up to over 2,000.
That sounds bad. That sounds really bad. Like I'm very spoiled, but my season ends.
I mean, that's me with the Yankees. I feel the same way.
Let me answer this.
We all have that one team.
Big Lenny said, "What if you get 3+ firsts and maybe Judy for Rodgers?" Yeah,
take it.
A lot. Like, I really want Rodgers to come back. I don't mind the prospect of getting a lot of first-round picks. It would be exciting, an exciting offseason if we had 3 firsts and a young quarterback. We had some cap space, but I don't know. I don't think the Packers even care how much the offers are. I really don't.
So I just want to say on this topic, Len just brought that up, Judy. It just reminded me that so I read the other day, Daniel Jeremiah, just interesting thoughts for New York football. the Giants and Jets, I had sent it into a couple group chats, are the likely people to supply
I saw that.
picks for QB needy teams. So the examples that were used, that were possible examples for the Jets at least, which I would assume they're the same for the Giants, is Carolina deals for Watson, Jets supply one of the second or both second round picks, and they would get someone like DJ Moore, or Brian Burns, or Jeremy Chin to the Jets. Quarterback would go to Carolina, picks would go to Houston if it's Watson, or it would be, Rodgers to Denver, Jets supply a second, which is like the 36th pick. They get Judy in return. So just interesting stuff to think about for New York football, where they could play into this whole
They could
QB trade
facilitate,
market as well.
they could facilitate a
That would
trade.
be delightful.
The Jets
I'd love that.
The Jets and Giants have such premium picks that if they felt the need to move down or help facilitate a trade, they can really get a haul back too. Like they would make out in a 3-team trade like that.
Oh, Brian Burns would be awesome.
Brian Burns would be gold. I'd
Brian
assume
Burns
that
would
we'd
be
have to
They're not
supply
giving
a
Brian
first.
Burns.
We'd have to
No,
supply
absolutely
a
not.
first round pick in a Rodgers trade to get Brian Burns.
But you'd also get back.
There's a
I
there's a
don't mind DJ
legitimate
Moore.
situation
I'd
there.
pick DJ Moore.
There's a legitimate situation there where this is for the Jets and the Giants, where a team like Carolina has already put 3 firsts on the table for a guy like, we'll say Russell Wilson. Or we'll say Denver, because I don't think Carolina's trading. I'm just trying to be realistic with the market of guys getting quarterbacks. So we'll say Denver or Tampa are supplying, and maybe the first in the future, they think, well, these are going to be later firsts. The Jets and the Giants could possibly throw in one of those top 10 picks to get a real player back in a return
Brian
for that.
Burns,
If Brian Burns to the
Oh
Jets
my
is the
God.
difference
Brian Burns and Carl
between...
Lawson.
Imagine Brian Burns is the difference between Rodgers getting to a team or Russell Wilson getting to a team, and you're the GM of Carolina, or you're the GM of Tampa, or maybe it's like Devin White in Tampa, or Bradley Chubb or Surtain in Denver, and that's the difference. It's really worth it if you're right there and
Brian
you have
Burns
to add
is
a
worth a
defensive
first-round
stud.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Brian Burns is very much worth
Brian
a
Burns
first round
is-
pick.
yeah.
He's a great player.
I would give up a first.
He's a great player. Him, Surtain had an awesome rookie year last year, a
here
little
he
bit
goes.
under the radar.
I want to talk. The pass rush conversation. I want to touch on like the fibs, like what's
Yes,
going
Oh
on.
yeah.
Because like he could go to the Jets and Giants. He very well
He
could.
might fall past us.
As of now, we'll be doing a mock draft Monday. We're going to start doing mock draft Mondays on GVU.
Mm-hmm.
We'll post it. It'll be a little less probably graphic
Maybe-
oriented from the last
If
one.
if we can do it though the other way,
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see
I
it. But
think it
either
might.
way, regardless, mock drafts will probably be up every Monday now. And I think that Tibbs is going to end up with the Giants
I do
I
too,
think so,
because
honestly.
the Jets and Saleh specifically is very mentality oriented for these players. If you're going to provide any sort of a problem at practice or in the locker room or with the media, you're really not going to end up on the Jets, it seems. But at the same time, if you're a defensive coordinator coach who had the best pass rush in the league for a few years and you say, man, this guy's incredibly talented, I could do something with him and hopefully improve his mental aspect of the game, then he might take him. He's going to end up with the Jets or the Giants.
Yeah, he's a raw talent, man. If any team's able to straighten him out, then they got an absolute stud on their hands.
I
But
do think either team
taking
should
this-
take
taking a guy
Equanu
like
or
this-
Neal. I think either team should take Equanu or Neal over.
taking
Take
a guy like
but
this,
one of
from
them's
New
not.
York
I think the
is
Jets should.
it's just
I
a
think the Jets
recipe for
should.
disaster. I feel
You know
it's
what? The
just
Jets
classic
need
Jets
pass
pick.
rush too.
If he goes to the Jets, he's gonna shit his pants. If he goes to the
The
Giants,
Jets,
he's gonna
at
be a great
least
player.
for the Jets in a pass rush conversation, I'm looking at it as a front office perspective, not a fan perspective, because I'd add as many pass rushes as we could this offseason. But from a front office perspective, you have your Joe Douglas's biggest free agent signing coming back from injury in Carl Lawson. So from a front office perspective, it could be like, maybe let's just get Randy Gregory and keep building the offensive line because we're getting Carl Lawson back anyways. He's going to be our 10-sack guy. You have Quinn Williams going into a contract year. I think that plays a lot into the pass rush. Just a lot of things. For both
I
of
think the
those.
Giants. I think it's just a fit. I don't know. I just see it. I could still see
I
a
see
scenario where he
I
goes
see
to
it,
Houston.
Yeah.
I definitely
And I
don't
just-
think he's going to Jacksonville or Detroit anymore.
I want to bring this up. The attitude stuff is
I
overrated.
disagree.
I
I disagree.
agree, but until that 5% chance that it's not overrated and it's a real problem, he's not going to be a good player. History just shows. So if a
Yeah,
GM
there's
has
a reason these guys fall.
if a
There's always
GM
a
has
reason.
any hint in an interview, then all right. Well, DSAB, I hate to break it to you, man. Every GM likes to take the best player available. right?
But not always. Not. But
Yeah, no, I know what he's
it's
saying. I know what
position.
he's
Yeah, he's saying if
Yeah, like
even if it's not position of
regardless
need.
position.
Yeah, the Jets, I think, will continue going offensive line at that fourth pick. I think the top 4 picks are going to be Neal, Hutchinson, Hamilton, Ekwonu.
This guy.
Reese, I'm actually with him on this.
What?
I would deal Quinton. He's in a contract
On
year.
his
He has not
contract
produced.
year,
If I could get a nice first or second for him for this
I mean,
draft,
a first. Yeah, I don't think we get a first for him.
I don't
you
think
can get
so
a low
either, but
first.
You could get a
but
low first.
Maybe.
This guy's. But so the Len, shut up, dude. Shut up. This guy's not going to. This is what I have to say about this pick. The Jets drafted a superstar safety a few years ago at the 6th pick. It didn't help their team at all. Adams is as good as it gets when he was with the Jets at safety. As good as it gets. He did not help our team one bit. The chances of Hamilton being as good as Adams was with the Jets are slim because the chances of these guys panning out to be superstars are always slim, no matter who you think it is. I'm not taking a safety. You guys can take him. Take him with the Giants. Way. There's no way. I think this guy falls out of the top 7-8 picks. I think he's as good of a player. Adams isn't the same player as Hamilton, but Jets need a secondary. Actually, the Jets had one of the best quarterback groups in the NFL last season, and they were all first and second year players, and we had the worst pass rush in the league. But Jets need a secondary. Yeah, they need 2 safeties. So give me 2 free agent safeties. Tyrann Mathieu is going to be available. Overpay for Tyrann Mathieu. You get 3 years of him. By the time he's done, you'll be able to reset the cap. It's not a huge problem overpaying for him. And get a guy like Jabril Peppers. Why go to the 4th pick when we need offensive linemen and defensive linemen and linebackers for a safety? It's not a premium position. I'm not doing it.
I even think. What do you think about like skill position at 7, like wide
skill
receiver?
Position at 7. If the Giants go offensive line with the 1st pick, say the first 3 picks are Tibbs, Hutchinson, Neal, but not in that order. Obviously, actually in the reverse order. Then the Jets go Ekwonu. Giants go Hamilton at 5. And then you got to take an offensive lineman at 7. But if they go offensive lineman at 5, they have to get an offensive lineman with one of those 2 picks. I mean, if they don't, it's just Joe Schoen's disaster already. Because this is getting ridiculous now. If you're not drafting offensive lineman.
I honestly think Thibs and Linderbaum. Honestly, if I had to take a guess,
I think right now maybe Thibs and Linderbaum / Charles Cross.
He said he thinks Jets go wide receiver at 10. Yeah, I mean it's Garrett Wilson or whatever that
London.
The Jets are an offensive lineman
Wilson
away.
there.
The Jets are an offensive lineman away from a top 17 offensive line in the league. And Douglas has been rebuilding it. There's no reason in stopping now. There's no reason in stopping this offseason to add stuff. Because the only time... What'd you say?
Who's the Jets center?
Connor McGovern, who I really don't love.
Like, is like, could Linderbaum even be... like?
McGovern's
I don't know
one of those guys that, like, analytically is really good.
Like PFF good? Like
he's PFF good, but he's not.
So not that good, but
PFF's actually
decent.
I'll say PFF's grading system is pretty good. I was just using that as an example to like.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean though. He's
not a top 15.
Advanced metrics, he's good, but it's not a position that But the Jets also, we have to keep in mind the Jets have 36 and 39 in this draft too. They're the best equipped team, except for if you want to argue Philly with me, you can argue Philly. But they're the best equipped team in this draft to really, add a lot of positions.
Yeah, Len, if Stingley drops to 10,
is it a foregone conclusion that he might drop? Because I don't
know. Linderbaum?
No, Stingley. Because
I think it is. I think it really is.
I think it is as well. But so say he falls to 10. Did the Jets pick Garrett Wilson, Drake London, or
they probably don't take
Stingley.
A corner.
I don't think you take Stingley, but
look, I know you guys just.
Saleh said at the Senior Bowl, he said there's no way they take a corner in the top 10. He said they're not doing it. So he said rule that out because they have 3 corners that they still really like, and then you could add one. I don't think they'll add him, and I don't want him either. It's J.C. Jackson, but there's free agent corners out there if you really want to add one.
KB, what do you think about?
I go Linderbaum for 3 at offensive line. Honestly, I think Ekwonu's the best in the draft. At offensive line, I think Neal's second. Kwanu's the best left tackle in the draft. He's the second best right tackle because if you put Neal at right, he's better, I think. But Kwanu's also the best right guard in the draft. So for a team like the Jets, the reason I think the Jets have to take him, exactly, Nielsen, CB class is deep. You don't need Ahmad Gardner or Derek Stingley. You don't. But the reason I would go with Ekwonu for either of these teams is, especially for the Jets, Fant is going into a contract year. Becton's a question mark. So a lot of fans like to say, hey, we have 2 tackles. Why would we take another? This guy could play right guard right now. And hopefully if all 3 of those guys are around for the next few years, perfect. But who knows if Becton and Fant are going to be tackles on this team next year? Who knows after next season?
The Jets
That's another thing with
offensive
the
line
attitude issue
alignment
that I
is
worry
definitely
about.
something that's going to be intriguing next camp.
I have a feeling it's going to be, my prediction right now would be Fant left tackle, because he was a top 5 left tackle in the league last year. He gave up 1 sack on the second most pass protection snaps in the league. He had a really underrated, like, second team all pro level season. He's a little bit lackluster in, pushing to the second level in the run game, which I think is the reason he doesn't get that recognition. But anyways, I think Becton right tackle, Fant left tackle, McGovern center, Veritucker left guard, and I think Ekwonu is going to be the right guard. Everything I've heard, every source that I really like with the Jets says Ekwonu and Drake London are the absolute like gems of his eye in this draft, and he can get both of them at 4 and 10.
That'll line. If Ekwonu plays up to his potential, that's a
really good O-line.
That is a scary O-line.
Also, I want to say for the Jets and Giants,
nothing,
and I want to hear some thoughts. I want to hear some thoughts in the comments here. They've picked 7 and 10. I love the Justin Fields move last year. It looks a little worse, I guess, because Parsons went right after. But the Justin Fields trade with Chicago to add a first-round pick, I think, is something that both teams should really, really think about this season, to add another first for next year. I think the Giants and Jets both definitely should.
I think I could. I think the Giants. I think I see a scenario where I know that they have pieces there, and I think the Giants have a few real good players, but I don't think Shane and Dable, like, yes, they're going to try to be competitive, they're going to try to win, but I don't think they're like really pressed to win. I think that if they can get back, if they can drop back and get more picks, I feel like as long as it's a package that they like, that they'll do.
Yeah, I was going to say something about just assuming that the Jets are going to have 4 and 10 when the draft starts. Anything could happen. We can end up having 1 draft pick. We can end up having 3. I don't know what could happen there, but
Pittsburgh's team to watch.
Pittsburgh seems like they like a lot of, or they at least like Willis. It seems like they're doing their homework on their quarterback. So
now the Giants, I think the dream scenario for me to see as a New York human in New York who doesn't want to hear about how bad these teams are anymore. So I actually am rooting for both. Obviously the Jets harder. I think the Giants, the perfect scenario would be, for me, it would be Ekwonu at 5 and Linderbaum at 7, and just start building that wall.
I've been saying that 2-0 line really is
2-0. It's scary. It's risky.
It's unrealistic. But
you got a
chance. You got a chance to. Andrew Thomas is good at left tackle. You have a chance to rebuild the offensive line in this draft and stop worrying about it, because you could add a high caliber
finally giving Jones a better chance than he's ever had.
Linderbaum is the best center prospect of all time. I am confident in saying that. He is the best center to ever come out of the NFL draft.
Dude, that man can move.
If I'm the Giants, Lenny said O-line all 7, but like, no joke, I'm going those first 2 picks if I was Joe Shane is O-line, and I'd go edge in that second round. There's some the edge in this class is incredibly deep, guys. Like, Tibbs is not the end for edge rushers in this draft. I think by draft day, Tibbs is going to be the 3rd best edge rusher in the draft. Jermaine Johnson from Florida State is like ridiculous. He is an insane player.
KB, that's who you had coming to us in the first mock draft. So if he doesn't,
and now,
fall to 28
he's a legitimate.
I'm gonna be disappointed in
after the Jets coached the Senior Bowl, he's like a legitimate number 4 pick.
I've been seeing. I actually saw a lot of good. I saw like on Twitter that he's been.
I think he's better than
raising his draft stock.
Tibbs, like, if you're a Giants fan, I just would recommend you watching Tibbs film, because he's really not like the first overall pick he was coming into the year on film.
GPT.
What do we got?
GPT is just a clown.
Yeah, no, it's just like
no. The Giants are not taking 2 O linemen. I do in my Madden chises. I always take 2 O linemen. You got to beef up the big boys, but I don't see them taking 2 linemen. No Russian. Yeah, I mean the Modern Warfare campaigns are just greatest. They're just greatest. That's Pete Call of Duty. No Russian.
Baseball doesn't exist anymore, so I can't even.
The lockout, this is killing me.
Come on,
let's
get a boogie on here.
The players, the owners. I know Higgs and Big Len are going to comment right now. Players' fault. Players' fault. The players
It's
have a
not.
legit gripe, but yes, they're
Yeah.
not compromising. So
Yeah, no.
Nielsen
it's
too.
bitchy that they're
Ojabo
not
back to the
confident.
draft talk. Ojabo is one of those like really weird project guys that I agree with Nielsen. Just raw talent that's not.
you're not
Put
going to
together
agree with
yet.
the next comment. Yeah, that's
No,
the
I mean, dude,
Fuck out.
I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, George was better. It sucks having the best owner in sports history and then he dies. It sucks. Like it's not going to get better. I don't know what we have the guy that spends the second most money in the league every year, but now he doesn't spend because we don't get Correa and Harper every offseason. Like, what do you want?
I
here?
just need post lockout, so I could just see Big Len. It'll be the first day
dude,
post
like
lockout.
I am at a point with you, Len, that I want Higgs. We're not drafting two wide
No
receivers early.
chance. No
I
chance.
am
no
at
chance.
a point with I'm at a
Shut that
point
down
with
quick.
you, Len, that I want us to sign Story and Correa and trade for Olsen and then sign Freeman just so you could shut your mouth. I don't even want it because I'm a fan of the team. I want it so I can stop hearing it. I need a
There it
shortstop
is.
and a top lefty first baseman. So does everyone else in the
Yeah,
MLB.
I mean,
all right?
fucking get in the
Come on,
line,
guy.
pal.
And you're gonna get
Shortstop.
one.
Our
Need a
shortstop
shortstop.
fucking
You're gonna
I
get
blows.
do.
a
I mean,
lefty
the one
first
thing that me
baseman.
and
You
Len
had the
agree
top
with
one on your team.
that I think we could talk about, and I was just going to say this, we can't prospect hub anymore. And I think Mets fans will feel the same way, and I don't think Steve Cohen cares about his prospects at all.
I think they do.
we'll
I
learn
think
that.
they do.
I think
I-
the top
I
one
think
really
that-
do.
I think in a situation where you can get a guy like Castillo for either of these teams, you just forget your prospects, man.
Yeah.
Forget your prospects.
I think for a Castillo trade, they might facilitate like Mauricio, but I think Alvarez and Beatty, I really think they put in an
can't trade
effort to
them.
try to beef up the farm system, and they have a lot
They
of picks
definitely
this
have.
year too.
Let's have
so
a good farm system.
they do. They have a lot of promising young guys, and
Yeah.
they have 2 firsts this year, and the Conforto comp pick and the Syndergaard comp pick.
So
I don't know. I saw
The if,
Conforto.
if.
Yeah. I saw they were talking Conforto. There's a chance that he stays. I hope not. I'm ready to move on from that. But
Yeah.
as a DH, it might not be the worst. I think there's better options.
And I also think that just to compare Jets and Yankees thoughts and Mets and just baseball in general, like the Jets have 4 top 40 picks. They have 1, 10, 36, and 39. The chances of more than 2 of those players being good are not high. Like so deal a pick for Calvin Ridley. Same thing with the Yankees and the Mets. You have so many promising young guys. The chances of your top 6 prospects being good, like 2 of those guys are going to be good baseball players.
Yeah.
Trade a couple of them, start dealing a couple of them for guys that have pitched at a high level and guys that have hit at a high level and fielded at a high level.
Yeah, TPT,
Castillo's
I'm
a
not.
must. I really like Castillo.
I don't even know
Castillo's
if
really good, man.
If I would say I'm sick
Ridley
of
sucks.
Conforto.
Higgs told us that Ridley actually got arrested.
Yeah, don't even.
Ridley
don't
did
even
not
say
get arrested.
Ridley fucking sucks.
Higley-
don't say he sucks. Come
Ridley-
on.
I think you have. I think some of your takes are there. Some of them are logical, and while they may not agree, there are some just that you just spew. And at the end of the day,
I mean,
I just
Ridley
can't support
sucks.
you anymore.
I mean,
I just can't support you
Ridley-
anymore.
Ridley
is-
sucks, dude. Get out of your ass.
Ridley is immediately the best. Yeah, he got a fake ID in college. He got fined for it, and then they rescinded the fine because they made a
Yeah,
mistake.
Ridley was one of the 17 million college students to get caught with a fake ID that year.
Like,
so it
dude,
was a big deal.
this guy is the best receiver the Jets ever had, and he doesn't have to play a game for us. We just have to get his rights, and he's the best receiver we've ever had since
I mean, since
1972.
Wayne
I mean,
Corbett.
Corbett. He tops Corbett.
Yeah, Corbett wasn't like that number 1 guy.
Corbett was really great.
He was
and he's a
the
great story and everything too. But I mean, dude, like Ridley, it just has to show up to the
Ridley's
building.
great.
Ridley can show up to
Ridley
the
is
building
great.
one day in May and never come back again, and his jersey's hanging in my room. Like,
I actually want to know what makes Ridley suck because
he doesn't have
I
any.
mean,
Higgs doesn't have any.
he's just
reason.
a pure wide receiver 1 on the Atlanta Falcons.
Higgy's opinions are make for great topic discussions.
They do.
really
They
do.
do. They
Maybe
do.
next
Adds
Friday
fuel.
we'll do a live stream based on his opinions. Corbett lives forever. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Reese has a Wayne Corbett.
Yeah.
uni,
Wayne Corbett and Joe Namath jerseys hanging up there. The only 2.
Corbett.
that'll
We got a
ever
bunch
bring
of
me
we
any
got a bunch
joy.
of Corbett merch down in KBC's office too. It's his guy.
Oh,
He's a
man.
legend.
All right. Well, do you have anything else? Anyone else in the comments want to discuss anything else, or are we calling
Yeah,
this one a
I
wrap
don't-
for
I
another
don't-
Another successful Friday Night Live. I really enjoy.
I'm gonna
these.
rip that
Yeah,
mask
Friday
off
Night Lives
Lindor's
are fun.
face. If we want to talk, if like anyone else wants to talk, if
Yeah,
there's any,
drop it
yeah,
now,
before-
or we're gonna
I'm not
call
in
it
a rush
call
to
it a
get
night
out.
here.
Lindor and his mask. Yeah, that mask. I'm done. He's got that mask glued to his fucking
Oh,
face.
God. I don't get guys like Lindor
Okay.
fighting.
He's
at the
just
MLB
he's
You know
extra
what?
safe,
That
but
pisses me off.
and that's
You know what
fine.
sucks
But like,
is that it sucks that like we're all fans for like similar teams. Like we're all Islanders fans.
yeah,
The Jets and Giants, we all just suffer together, and then JD, you're the outlier. But we have two teams here that could win the World Series, and they're not
Yeah.
going to play.
and they're not gonna play.
Yeah, that's
and
typical New York.
Well, the new
Yeah.
playoff format is not like confirmed yet, but it's going to happen.
I think at least a new format is coming.
So we're saying right now the one we're looking at is 7 teams. One gets a bye, the first seed, and then the wild card round, the teams pick who they play out of the 6 teams that are going to play. I hate the picking who you play. I think the reasoning for it, and we all know
Says
the
it
reasoning
for
for it.
disaster.
If I'm the
reasoning
team that's
for it
getting
is-
picked, I love it. If I'm the team that has to pick, it's
Yeah,
probably
the
worst
reasoning
case
for
scenario.
it, we talked about it with the Mets as the prime example. A team like the Mets doesn't win their division; they get the 7 seed, but the 2 seed doesn't want to play DeGrom and Scherzer. So,
No.
so the 4 seed gets DeGrom and Scherzer. They lose in a 3-game
It just-
series.
I think this format diminishes the importance of 162 games because
They have to cut it down.
They do have to cut it down if they're going to do this. 7 teams. I like 7 teams. Even 6 teams I would love. I like an expansion of the amount of teams that are in the playoffs. I think it'll make for a lot of fun games come October. I think if we saw like teams like we were talking last year, it would have been Seattle and Toronto in as the 6 and 7. And I like while those teams may not have won the World Series and they weren't the most complete teams, they were 2 fun, exciting teams. I think the playoffs with them in it probably is a little more. I don't know. As a Mets fan, I'm not taking part in it usually every year. We don't fucking see the playoffs ever. Hopefully we do this year. Hopefully
if we don't
we
see
can go
it this
deep in the
year.
playoffs this year. But I'm just saying, as a fan, I usually like to watch the MLB playoffs, and I think Toronto and Seattle get in. It's an interesting storyline, and while they don't probably win, I would like to watch them. Man, honestly, I'm just done with I don't know. The Yankees are always in that fucking 1-game wild card.
They are every year because you know what? A team like the Yankees, I prefer it for a team like the Yankees, the expanded playoff and everything, and not having the 1-game wild card. The 1-game wild card is hell.
Yeah,
But
it's hell.
Ruin
The
Mets
AL
season
East,
when
the AL East is so good right now, and it changes every 2-3 years. It all changes, but the AL East is just an absolute buzzsaw with Boston, with Cora back, and with Toronto. I think I said it, and I think it would just be better. I think that they should do a six teams, top 2 get a bye, 3 plays the 6, 4 plays the 5
Yeah,
in
I
a
like
3-game
that.
series. I think that's just the better way to do it, like the old NFL format.
Mhm. I think that's a good
Also,
one, but-
though, what was I just going to bring up? Service time for players. Why is the MLB service time like the worst thing ever?
I don't know.
The
Everything
system's
about
terrible.
everything about the system, the MLB. I mean, the last CBA, the last
it
5
just
years,
seems so flawed.
the players are getting screwed. So yeah, I very much understand like their gripe with the owners, and no one's caving. And while I do think both sides got to give a little, they got to give a little at least. It. I mean. I don't like. I'm not blaming it all on the players. I hate the owners. The players are making it hard to come to a deal, but the owners won't budge. Players won't budge. I fucking forgot what point I was even making.
Like, what's so tough about? I'll take
If
over
I-
for you while you're thinking about it.
Yeah,
What's
I
so
forgot.
tough about you get pulled up? You have 4 years, or you
Oh,
get drafted, and you have
service
4
time.
years. Yeah. So what's so tough about? First of all, we talked about it last night. They got to cut down on this draft and the amount of players in these organizations because the minor league teams have too many players. There's 3 teams. You got rookie leagues. You got it's ridiculous how many players are involved in an organization that have to get paid. But what's so tough about cut down the draft from 40 rounds to like 7?
fucking, there's too
and-
many people you
Cut
have to
it, just
pay.
cut the draft in
And-
half. Cut it in half.
Even more because in half we still have 20 rounds of 30 teams. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But
yeah.
still, like cut the draft down, whatever, or just what's so tough about every 4 years an MLB, you have one minor league team, and every 4 years these guys are due for a new contract because every other sport has that, or maybe implement the franchise tag if you want to keep service time so much. But if you're an owner, we saw it today with Steve Cohen, like people complain about Steve Cohen. If you're an owner of a team like Oakland or Tampa and you don't want to spend money, You shouldn't be a baseball owner. You shouldn't
Yeah,
be.
you shouldn't be.
It's ridiculous. This guy just bought a team in the biggest market that have had fans suffering with only 2 World Series in '69, and the Mets are a storied franchise because of the 2 World Series that they won and just being a New York team. And have they been abysmal like the Jets and Giants? No, but this guy just bought the biggest market team. He's going to come in and spend, and he wants to come in and spend.
And there's no reason why anyone should be afraid of what Steve Cohen does, because he's doing what the Dodgers and Yankees have done in the past, and the Mets have not won. So the Mets have not won anything yet. I could see
we're under 500 last year, and we're crying.
They won 77 games. I don't know why there's going to be an incentive on owners not to spend rather than to put into their team,
and
because.
Aside from Scherzer, they didn't add a superstar this offseason.
They added
really quality players. A lot of really
solid
good
all-around players.
You need to see Mad Max and DeGrom sitting on that dugout when McGill's pitching.
You're such an interesting guy.
You like McGill? Is that what you're saying?
Higgy doesn't agree with me, but I will say it. I say it every week. This Mets pitching depth on the starting rotation. We just talked about Castillo. They got to add him. They got to add a third. Because it's not good. This pitching rotation is the greatest top 2 ever. The other 3 are just Marte is really good, but he's not the caliber.
They paid him too, and a lot of other teams were in on him, but the Mets probably had the best.
Can't we all learn the lesson that you add a guy like Lindor? It doesn't mean he's going to be Lindor from Cleveland. These guys don't. Let's wait to see. And if Steve Cohen's team wins the World Series, good for him.
Yeah, and this is a different topic. If we come back into the CBA in 5 years and the Mets, which will not happen, the Mets winning a World Series, I think can happen. I have to see it first, but say they win 3 World Series over 5 years, then yes, you can. There's topics. I guess if Steve Cohen's buying everybody every year, which I don't think he's going to do. While I think he will. I think he will spend. I don't think he's an idiot. And I don't think he's going to be, like he said, a drunken sailor spending on every player. I think they want to develop a farm system and have homegrown guys come up and play for them. But Steve Cohen hasn't done anything for the owners to be afraid of him. And realistically, every owner should be more like Steve Cohen.
Also, Jerry Reinsdorf, if we're not familiar with Jerry Reinsdorf, he owns the Chicago White Sox and he owned the Chicago Bulls for Jordan and the
Higgs, that's what I'm saying.
This guy is, dude.
Higgs, I literally said the Mets are not. I literally was about to say that. I just put
Higgs in a user timeout. Blocked for 5 minutes. That's great, dude.
See you, Bob.
So the Jerry Reinsdorf is the one that he did not vote for Steve Cohen. This guy is as much of a billionaire as anyone ever. He owns the White Sox. He's owned the Chicago Bulls. He won the 6 championships with Jordan. This guy should be the one spending money trying to win, but he doesn't. He wouldn't even pay Scottie Pippen with Chicago. These are not people that should own sports teams. They're not.
Yeah, they shouldn't be. If you're not willing to put into the team, then we should be incentivizing them to spend as opposed to pinching pockets. And I know, Higgs, I was literally about to say the Mets are not winning a World Series. And while I need to see it, yes, and it's hard to believe that they ever will, they can in the next 5 years. I'm not saying they're going to win 3 to 5 World Series. I'm saying nerfing Steve Cohen should only be a discussion.
Yeah, how can you nerf
the
a guy
Mets
if
are
he
like
hasn't
the Dodgers?
Won? And even if we've seen it with the Yankees, and the Yankees spent, but also had a great development and farm system when they had their dynasty in the 90s and into 2000. But if they win, it's it is what it is. If baseball's tough, if you have the best team in the league for multiple seasons, that's a really hard thing to do. The Dodgers are the best team in the league for the last 2 years. They won 1 World Series.
Yeah.
So they're the team that's gone after everyone and spent for everyone. Why are we getting upset with this? This has been happening forever in baseball. Since forever. Literally forever. The Yankees in the 1920s in 1920s, 30s, and 40s had the 5 best players in the MLB on their team every single year. 60s, 70s, the Reds had the best players on their team every year. The A's had a couple teams with the best players in the league. Yankees again. This is baseball. This is what happens in baseball.
Yeah, and in some way, it's a level of saltiness and jealousy. Like,
is.
they're like, oh, this team's just allowed to go spend, but mine's not. No, yours is allowed. Your owner just fucking blows.
I said
That's the
to
problem.
JD today, I think what it actually comes down to is the ego of these billionaires, and that there's a guy in the league that's doing a better job than them and getting more press than them, and he just got here, and he has $10 billion more in his bank account than these other guys do. And I think it just comes down to their ego being insecure because they're not the richest owners in the league anymore. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing a shirt under the sweatshirt. There's Steve fucking Cohen with a crown on. So yes, that's probably like they're probably a little jealous, but
I
they
would be
could
too.
also
I would hate
they
it.
could
I
also
would
do
hate
the,
it.
if they just these billionaires can literally be a hero to their
They could
city.
They could be a
They
hero.
could be
to
a hero.
State.
If they go in and put the assets and resources into their team and they win a World Series, any of one of these owners could be a hero to a whole fan base of fans. I mean,
Len, how are you jealous, dude? I mean, what are you? We
But I mean,
traded.
it's not like you cover that up very well.
We traded.
We
You
do know that.
you don't cover it up at all. We traded 4 years ago. We traded for the MVP, who was the highest paid player in baseball, in Stanton. We traded for the MVP and home run king, making $40 million a year. We signed your absolute golden boy, the key to your heart, Garrett Cole. We signed Garrett Cole to make him the highest paid pitcher in the league at the time. What do you want from these guys, man? And honestly, the Scherzer thing, this is not a 10-year deal. They got him for 3 years. It's
really 2 years.
It's a lot of money
probably.
annually, but it's low risk at the end of the day. It's low
Glenn,
risk.
you want every player in the MLB.
It's just so listen. So it's just a bit of recency bias because yes, this
all the
offseason
Yankees do is win.
This offseason, the Mets have got in everyone, but we were jealous when the Yankees signed Garrett Cole. We
sat in the shadows for like 15 years.
We were
I was
jealous.
jealous.
Just dominating.
In reality, I was jealous when you're still in shadows. I was jealous when the Chiefs signed Joe Tooney last year from the Jets. You don't like losing free agents to anyone.
Yeah, it's even
now
if
that they play 45 minutes away, is it a little different? Yeah, I want Lindor, I want Scherzer, I want Marte. Yeah, so does every other team in the MLB.
I know that you haven't seen a championship in a while, but let's not forget, you do have fucking 27 rings. It's not like the world hasn't suffered when the Yankees have won before. You have 27 championship rings.
It's like, and we're in it every year. Every year we're in it. Last year was the first year for the last few years that we didn't have that feeling.
It's World Series or bust every year for the Yankees. That's
it's always how it's been.
Not anything new. And the Yankees have to get back. They do.
It's a rare
year.
fan base too, because that I hate and love being a part of, because it's literally like, if you don't win the World Series, it's a failure. Even when the team wins 82 games, it's a failure if you don't win the World Series.
That's exhausting. I would love to have that issue
because of the culture that is just established by George Steinbrenner. And what was established by Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig, it just never went away. And this team hasn't won.
The reason Len's upset is because he's used to winning.
I mean, at least Nielsen's rational in here, man. DBT. Oh, God.
The chat doesn't need your Yankee craziness. No, I love it. I love it. I'm not. It doesn't drive me off a bridge because.
Drew, when's the next album?
No, DPT 18 Records is shut down, dude. This guy's not making.
Can we get another one, dude? I mean,
no, he hasn't even started writing it.
Did you learn how to play that guitar yet?
Yeah, you got a guitar for Christmas, DPT. Let's get some country. You want to switch genres here?
Yeah, you got the voice for it. So.
Name that next album. Name that next album, Glazed Donut. for those who know. Well, either way, so I think we're not even gonna watch baseball.
Yeah, it's brutal. I don't even.
Dude, I should.
It's not a reality.
My Twitter feed should be. My Twitter and Instagram feed should be filled with pictures of Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer.
Right, let's conclude here with who do we think? I love talking here. I could talk all day, but
yeah,
we have we're an hour 45 here approaching. So, who do we think that the Mets end up with, and then we'll do the Yankees after?
I think Castillo.
I mean, Castillo's the goal.
So Castillo is not a lock. I would love to see it happen. I hope it happens. I think it's certainly a possibility. It depends what Cincinnati wants. I don't think we were just talking about, I think Mauricio should go the other way in a trade for Castillo. Definitely.
Trade Alvarez.
I don't think Alvarez and Beatty are untouchable, but everyone else, McNeil, Dom, Any lower prospect than Beatty and Alvarez, I think, should be in play. I think they got to get Castillo. I think they don't really need one more bat. I would like to see them get one more bat. I think
Yeah,
I said
exactly. Higgy.
Schwarber. I like Schwarber. I don't know if it happens or not, but I would love another
I'd love Schwarber.
left-handed bat. And bullpen's pretty good. You got a solid foursome, and your righty guys, your late inning guys, but you need a lefty and maybe one more guy. But I think they'll probably count on Drew Smith to give him some innings. He was good, and Sean Reed Foley was good for them last year, so they'll probably bring him back. And one of Carrasco or McGill, probably Carrasco, will be a long man in the bullpen. There's going to be a spot where someone doesn't get in. So I think the Mets improve. I think they might sign a few more free agents. They definitely are going to get some depth. Trading Mauricio Higgs, I think could be in the cards this offseason. They've done the bulk of their work, though. Definitely still holes. Definitely things they gotta clean up, like the front end of the bullpen and the back end of the starting rotation before opening day. But I think they'll get Castillo. I really do.
I think they get Castillo, try and beef up, try and get at least one more guy in the pen.
They may even sign fucking Kikuchi too from Seattle.
Yeah.
They were talking to him before the lockout.
I don't
think Rodon was injured at the end of the year. He's coming off a career year. He's going to get paid like he pitched last year. I don't think the Mets are going to be the ones to hand him out that contract, or Chris Bryant. I think they like I think they like the guys they have now in the infield.
I think Chris
and the
Bryant
guys
starts to
coming up.
crowd it a little bit.
Yeah, it does with Beatty and all the prospects.
If you need a bat, they'll be in a position where they could still add one at the deadline without being in a hole.
They'll always be in a position the Mets and Yankees at the deadlines will probably be buyers again if it's the same way it was. I mean, the Mets were in it, but they were in it, but they went and bought Baez. Obviously, they don't have many more, but I think they'll be buyers again. Obviously, they'll be hopefully in a position to win the division, and the Yankees too. They'll both be buyers at the deadline.
For the Yanks, after the lockout ends, my prediction would just be any sort of combination of Story at short and Rizzo would be at first if they add a shortstop. I don't think that they'd get Freeman or Olsen. If they go with a guy like Didi and trust their prospects to come up in May to play shortstop, then I would say Olsen or Freeman. I think that they leave with a big name at either first or shortstop. I don't think they leave with a big name at both.
Freeman.
With
take
that
Freeman
being,
from
you got to take Freeman.
No, the Yankees don't see the Yankees. I don't know if gonna give up the same the Dodgers would for Freeman. I think he might go to the Dodgers, but I would love for him to go to the Yankees. Just get him out of Atlanta.
Dude, Higgs, you make that joke, but Dom Smith would hit like 45 home runs.
Oh, yeah. He'd be great.
Dom Smith in that short. Dom Smith's a good player. He's just got nowhere to be for us.
Yeah.
I think trading him, using him as trade bait is
so with that being said, for the Yanks, I do think that the option that's more likely and the one that I would prefer would be Story Rizzo. Because I still think Rizzo's a really good first baseman still. He's not superstar, but he's really good. And he's just as good in the field as those guys, but we'll see. I just hope that they play. I'd take the same roster as last year at this point.
Nielsen said
I agree with Nielsen.
Freeman, yeah. I think they re-signed Judge before opening day. The prospect of Judge being a free agent, I like it. It excites me, but I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening.
If they were to no, the Yankees historically though do wait until after the final season of the contract.
They could, yeah. It won't happen in season. Judge said that Yankees probably won't do that, so it probably won't happen in season. Either opening day or after. I think he's a Yankee, but it is an interesting to think about of him possibly hitting free agency.
Yeah, that raises a concern for Yankees.
Just like Soto in 3 years. I know it's a long time away. He's got 3 years.
I agree, Rye. I do think Judge is a Yank for life. He's just like one of those guys.
He is a Yankee.
Yeah. Judge, if they were smart, you give Judge a $300 million deal, totally backloaded, and still try to win now. But I think Story, I'd love, in a perfect world, I would have Story at shortstop, Rizzo at first, Judge, and in a perfect realistic world still. Story, Rizzo, Judge gets the extension before the season, and they trade Volpe for competent pitching because Volpe's the best shortstop in the league, prospect in the league, and most valuable. And he just, I don't want to prospect of anymore because Torres was the same guy, and Torres has not done it for me at all.
Yep.
We cannot go above 8 or 9 with Judge. What do you think? What do you mean?
8 or 9 years.
8-9 years.
Dude, yeah, I know, but like, what do you? What? We're gonna lose Judge because he wants a 10th year. No.
Castillo. Yeah, I mean the Yankees need. Well, the Yankees.
Kershaw, I
I
love Kershaw. I would love Kershaw,
but I don't think he leaves. I would love.
I don't think so
that.
either.
I
I
would
think
love
he'll
that,
take
though.
that discount.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's gonna do it.
Yeah, I
It
think
was a great episode.
Good
Well,
Friday night. If we could do it
yeah.
for 5 hours, we would.
Olsen. Yeah, Olsen would
Two
be it.
judges.
Olsen would rake.
Yeah,
Yankees
I
Stadium.
love
Olsen
Matt
would be
Olson.
sick.
Matt
No,
Olson's one of my
Olsen
favorite
would just
players
be
in the
like
league.
Greg Bird for us, though. That's just what happens. With these high
Greg
talent
Bird,
first
man.
basemen. All right. Well, we'll be back next Friday. We'll probably be doing this every Friday at 7.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I'm
fun.
starting to-
Unless there's
this is
conflict,
by
it'll get
far
bumped
one
to
of
a
my
Saturday at
favorite
7.
things
But
we've
this is really optimized our videos. It gives us a lot more to talk about, a lot more topics.
Yeah, and
A lot.
if-
It gives us the chance to interact too, which is
it does. I love that.
also like we'll play it by year too. Like if something big happens in the off season on like a Monday, like we don't
Just
have
go
to
live.
wait until Friday to
Yeah.
stream. We could do it. Or well, I don't know what the situation is. Maybe
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Later, everybody.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Make sure to
Subscribe
like
if you haven't.
subscribe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
if
haven't.
you're
Like
not
the
subscribed,
video.
then you're in here. That really sucks.
Like the video though.
Blower.
Definitely like the
All right.
video.
Yeah, and go
Helps us
check out Instagram and
Yeah.
whatever. Venmo us.
Fuck
All right,
off,
see
big
ya.
line. Fuck off, big line.
Later.